Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah?
Yep.
You happy,
Back
Stevie?
once again for the Uncut and Unfiltered podcast. Today, we've got a really, really special episode. We're actually joined by one of our wonderful audience members here in the studio. A very, very warm welcome to you, Guy Dutton. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you
nice
very
to
much.
be in the studio?
It is. I feel it's a bit intimidating. Here we are with the famous Uncut lads.
Oh, don't be silly. Hopefully, we'll get right into it. We're not too intimidating.
No, not too bad.
Although now that you're sat with us, you've got to take a good ribbing. You've got to give a good ribbing.
Yeah.
It's all the crack,
Give us
right?
good as a I was just waiting to be introduced to the makeup artist to make myself look as young as you guys. but
It's natural.
So far, I've just got to deal with it.
Apparently, I'm aging every episode, someone said, so there we go.
Charming.
Lovely,
Yeah.
right? I know,
Thank you
yeah.
for that. That gives me,
It really helps, doesn't
builds
it?
me a lot of confidence. So,
Absolutely. Listen, gents, today we've got a really special episode, and Guy, all thanks is to you here. Guys, obviously at home, we say all the time how, look, we do our best to bring you some exciting episodes, some great whiskies, and we're always cracking our whiskies. Sometimes we get sent some special bits and pieces, which is absolutely wonderful, but we don't expect anything. What we want to do here is showcase whiskies that we're excited about, that we're enjoying in our own life, and we are more than happy to open our cupboards, crack open some bottles, and share them with you and with our guests here in the studio. Today, however, Guy, you've travelled far and wide from Middle
Only a few
Earth.
hundred miles.
Only a few hundred miles has Guy driven to come and spend the afternoon with us. Not only that, though, you have bought, you bought a lot of whiskies, but 7 whiskies for this episode alone.
Indeed.
That we're going to be sharing. So all thanks today goes to Guy. Please drop in the comments how grateful you are, and if you've ever tried any of these. This episode is limited edition Glendronachs, and if you know us here at Uncut and Unfiltered, you know that we love Glendronach. So we're really excited to share these with you, Guy. Thank you so much for bringing them.
You're welcome.
Stevie, are you excited?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Just a bit?
Yeah, I am. Listen, I like Glendronach quite a lot. Not as much as you and Ian.
And me.
And Guy.
And obviously not as much as Guy, yeah.
But no, listen, great call, right? Solid liquid, right?
Yeah, can I do a pour?
You can absolutely
Let's get
do a pour.
cracking.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go
yeah.
for it.
Where are we starting today then, Guy?
Okay, so I don't know a lot about the history of the Octarine, but I understand it was released for the Carrefour supermarkets in
Thank you, sir.
France back in 2012-13. It's a bourbon sherry blend. No idea on the ratios.
Thank you, mate. Nice half pint there.
But, well, sorry.
You will be singing by the time we leave if they're all like this. And can I just say as well,
nice.
not only have you bought these bottles here with us today, with you today here, Guy, but you've actually cracked, 5 of them, especially for this episode?
Yes, correct.
That's beyond. Thank you so much. Honestly,
right.
it's. I will be speaking with your doctor. I think we need to get you checked for driving 200 miles to come and visit us and share these whiskies. I don't understand I don't understand it, but we are beyond grateful. You obviously, like us, have a passion and maybe a bit of a problem when it comes to all things whiskey. But it's wonderful to have you here
One
to
of
share
us.
these drams. Yeah, exactly. One of us. Gooble gobble. One of us.
It was a good excuse to crack open some new fresh bottles.
Fantastic.
Because I think that you've not tried many of these particular expressions.
Yeah, none of those up there, actually.
To be honest, yeah, that cask strength is new to me. I don't think I've tried this Octarine before. I was trying to think about it. I've tried the
Very Moorish.
10-year-old Luke Skywalker, as it's dubbed, once, but again, like a dribble. The
Interested?
hand fills... Depends which hand fills they are. Probably haven't, right?
No,
And the
possibly
single
not.
casks, again, probably no. So, of the 7, maybe 1.
I think Ian's tried the 93, but of course he's not here. So,
And why isn't Ian here? God, terrible. Drop it in the comments. What do you think he's up to? He's certainly not enjoying these Glendronachs as much as we are, so there we go.
So, French supermarket exclusive.
Carrefour, apparently, yes.
We say
46%.
46%, €30.
I think the price point was between 30 and 35 euros back in 2012-13 when this was released.
Okay. Did it hang around the supermarkets for long, though?
Got no idea.
Right.
Because you
Because you bought it all.
Well, I bought a few.
A few
I've got
crates.
a few left on the shelf. So I don't know any idea at all on the ratio, but it's just such a lovely, easy sipper.
So this
But
is...
did you say Oloroso and bourbon?
Yes.
Oloroso and bourbon. And this is the thing, what I find interesting about this is I think there is a decent bit of bourbon in it. And I don't hate that, to be honest. It's, you know, straight away on the palate, it's quite nice and quite almost a little bit more fragrant than you would get from most Glendronachs, you know?
Yeah, there is a
Initial-
heatheriness to it.
Initial
for me,
thoughts,
yeah.
gents? That's a really good question, actually, Jake. They don't specify whether it's Oloroso or PX.
Is this one of Billy's creations, is it? Yeah, it would have been if it was
gotta be, yeah.
2000.
It's from 10 years ago.
2013.
Yes.
It was
yeah,
2013,
yeah.
so we're talking 11 years ago. Yes, it definitely would have been out under Billy's supervision. And what I love about this, and we were saying it just off camera there, the 8-year-old, it was one that, you know, Glendronach did back in the 70s, 80s, as you sort of say, Guy, in those sort of almost teacher-esque bottles. 8-year-old. I don't know if you've ever had a chance of trying one of those. Seriously good liquid. 8 years old, you know, it's a bit of an odd one to have an age statement on. A lot of people, I'm sure, would
unusual.
think people want 10 or 12 or 15 or whatever. But, you know, when you look at big spirit companies, I can't speak for the likes of Glendronach, but I know almost definite, I can say with confidence that the likes of Diageo, for example, the average age of liquid in bottle under all of the Diageo's brands is 8 years old. So obviously you've got the core ranges that go, you know, some of the really high age limited edition stuff. I mean, we were at the Whiskey event there yesterday. We tried 54-year-old Singleton, which is the oldest whiskey Diageo's ever released, which is phenomenal. You know, but then you've also got the likes of Johnny Walker and all the rest of it. And if you look at the average age, it is 8 years old.
But you can get really good whiskey at 8 years old.
And this is the thing, and it reminds me, you know, we did in a recent episode the Lagavulin 8 as one of our best whiskies of the year thus far. Lagavulin just sits really, really well at 8 years old. Now, for me, Glendronach is, you know, is a really interesting whiskey. It's quite robust and rich and
Deals with sherry very well.
correct. It's got that body to it that it can take on, I would say, pretty much any style of maturation, but it takes on those heavy sherry notes so well.
Very well.
And I think most people would know Glendronach, and I certainly love Glendronach. I don't know if it's the reason you love Glendronach, but I love Glendronach for that reason, for those rich, heavily sherry drams. It's like
Indeed.
Christmas cake in a glass, which I know is a basic bitch way of talking about sherried whiskies, but it was the first whiskey that I really fell in love with, and it was one of the single casks. It was a 1994 single cask I picked up from the distillery.
Remember which one it was, Jake?
I think it was number 3399.
PX.
It's so fucking good. I've got
Superb.
one more bottle. I bought 3 of them. Phenomenal whiskey, and it was the first one I fell in love with. And
Tried that, Stevie?
No, I haven't actually. No, I haven't really dipped into Glendronach too much. I've had some sort of the hand fills and special releases and things
he
like
gets
that.
what Ian and I give him.
Apparently so, yeah. But
You're welcome to these.
thank you, Guy. Yeah, but no, I haven't had a chance to have that one.
Okay.
No. This is lovely though, right?
It's beautiful.
For €30, you know.
I'm assuming the French were chuffed to bits with this when they found this in the supermarkets
I
in
hope so.
2013.
Yeah.
I hope so.
It's such a
God.
lovely drinker. The reason I brought this, because a lot of us have tried probably the entry level 12
Yep.
at 43%.
One of my favourites.
It's
Sure,
a
it's
lovely.
somewhere here. Here it is on the shelf.
It's a cracking dram, but this is just. It's just got something a little bit special about it for an 8-year-old vatting of sherry and bourbon casks. Be nice to know the split, wouldn't it? Be nice to know the split.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
and
I've-
if you
I've
guys
tried-
at home know anything about that split, drop it in the comments. We're always being educated by our beautiful audience, so please help us out if you can. What do you think of this guy? When was the last time you cracked one of these bottles and opened it? Obviously, you've cracked this one here today for us.
The last one was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was just such an easy sipper.
Yeah.
It's it's obviously it's non-chill filtered, natural colour. It's just a great entry level dram, but it's a little bit unusual compared to the 12. It's got a bit more going on,
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Definitely. I think, look, the 12 is kind of your standard Glendronach. And like I say, for me, on first approach, this is like sweeter and a little bit more fragrant, but also the spice is a little bit softer.
Impressed?
I'm really enjoying it. The other thing I would say about this is the vanilla kind of comes through heavier. I think the
Perhaps it must be more bourbon led at the price point, you'd think.
I don't know. I think that the bourbon shines through definitely, even if it's not, heavily bourbon matured. I think it's more refill Oloroso. Obviously they use a lot of the first fill Olorosos and PXs for their single casks and the hand fills and the lights of the stuff that we're going to come on to. For me, I'd say that this is probably second or third fill Oloroso. It's wonderful. It's got a nice balance to it. I think it's a really great way of getting somebody who's maybe not a fan of sherry drams into Glendronach. We talk to people who are maybe a little bit sensitive to sulfur, and they can find sulfur in sherry drams. I personally love sulfur, and I seldom find it as a sort of massive component to sherry drams, unless you're looking at the likes of the pre-2015 Glendronach, the 15-year-old. That was phenomenal, but I think they use sulfur candles to dry those casks out. But anyway,
maybe
this one for me is like a really nice balance of that bourbon. It's fresh, it's more approachable. Those spices are a little bit softer, a little bit more vibrant, and I think that what's beautiful about this is the distillate really shines through.
Yeah. I was just looking at the official tasting notes. It mentions, obviously, there's this very element of bourbon cask in it. But this is 2013, so this is 11 years old. It's just a nice drinker. And if you've not tried it before, I think it's worth tracking down at auction, but they seem to be few and far between nowadays.
And do you know what this sort of thing sells at in auction nowadays?
I haven't seen one for a while, Jake. The last one I saw was going for about £70 or £80. So it's probably a little bit overpriced for what it is.
For sure.
Given that the 15-year-old, vanilla, butterscotch, toffee, apple cake, smooth and very approachable.
I find there's more spice on the 12.
It's just a great entry-level dram.
Would you say, Stevie?
I find there's more sort of spice on this than the 12 for me personally.
Okay.
Yeah, not like an unpleasant sort of more.
Bit more interesting.
Yeah, it's just it is a little bit more interesting. That's maybe because I've had the 12 so much. This is just a little bit different, right? So that's might be what's doing it. But €30, bloody hell.
Apparently so.
Still. What a steal.
Apparently so.
You said butterscotch, did you? Is the official tasting?
Official notes.
I'm getting like a bread and butter pudding.
It's
Do you know what I mean? I get that typical, like something that is always prominent. Like I said, Christmas cakes. It's the thick raisins.
Yeah,
it's that almost sherry juice. Marzipan comes through quite often. I'm getting the raisins here, but I'm getting like a almost like a buttery bready. Do you know what I mean? Like a little. It's that bit lighter. It's a little bit fluffier almost.
Bread and butter pudding, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I said. Bread and butter pudding.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just it's. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's yummy.
It's lovely. Don't want to rush it really, but it's nice.
It's a good dram. It's a very, very good dram and a great place to start here. So Glendronach, talk to us about your. Is this one of your main focuses when you're looking at your collection?
It certainly
because
is.
I've seen some pictures of your collection now, sir, and your selection. I mean, you're obviously not shy to opening a few bottles and sharing them with friends and like-minded people, which is so wonderful to see, and good on you, and thank you. But is Glendronach your favourite? Is it up there? How did you get into it? Tell us a little bit about your history with Glendronach.
Jake, that's a good story. Okay, so discovered Glendronach by accident.
Okay.
At a tasting local to where I live. And the lineup at the evening was a 12, 15 and 18-year-old. I think that was early 2014. And prior to that, a lot of what I tried I was drinking a lot of supermarket drams.
Okay.
And I was blown away by it. The 18 at the time was incredible, the Allardyce, wasn't it? And that started this ridiculous, obsessive journey with tracking down single casks.
So this was the first sort of serious whiskey you came onto? Would that be fair to say?
No, probably Highland Park before that was probably more serious whiskey, but then all of a sudden I discovered Glendronach and the sherry bomb Glendronach. It takes so difficult to better.
For sure.
Accidental tasting. Well, not accidental tasting, but a tasting where I'd not really heard of the brand.
Right. You weren't expecting what you got.
I wasn't expecting what we got. And I remember my friend I went with at the time, he said, I can't believe how good this is. And it started this obsession. At the time, I didn't know there was Facebook groups that discussed specific types of whiskey.
Right.
And of course, you disappear down the rabbit hole then, don't you, when you find that there's other expressions available.
For sure. Other geeks that will feed you
and
the knowledge that you need to spend all of your money and more.
Gosh, it wasn't the just. And then, I can't remember the name of the store I used to buy from in London. I think it was the Grapevine, actually. And I purchased one of their first shop single casks, which was a 94, I think. And I was completely hooked then. Once I tried a single cask, which I think was about 18, 19-year-old. I can't remember the cask number. It's just such a rabbit hole journey then, ever since then. And then that, in answer to your question, Jake, escalated into wanting to track down all the previous batch releases, if possible,
Right.
that I'd missed because, of course, Billy started releasing these from the warehouses in 2009, I think.
Right.
So you can imagine the scramble then to try and pick up some of these single casks before
For sure.
they'd all gone, which was an interesting journey.
And there's always one more single cask that you realise you haven't got.
So someone said to me, once you've got the batch releases, then what about the Taiwanese releases? And then, of course, there's the limited releases.
Yeah.
That is a dangerous game
it is.
to play.
Yeah, I'm sure my wife is very, very understanding with
Oh,
my...
really? And does your wife like whiskey?
She loves nosing whiskey, but she doesn't drink. I don't
Okay.
drink anything at all, but she really...
She's a good drinking partner then, isn't
Oh,
she?
she is.
Have a bit of that. Oh, that's lovely. Good. Give it back.
She certainly is, and she's a great distillery visiting partner as well. When
Is
of course
she?
you're,
Oh, good on her. That's
because of
fantastic.
course get a nice driven around the distilleries.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you collect the grandeurs as well?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything.
I've not got the early grandeurs.
Okay.
The Octaves was a brilliant release, which was
Have you
presented.
tried that?
Yeah, I've emptied one.
Have you? So I've got one. I've tried the tiniest bit of it once.
We need to open one of them.
He's
1994
going to get me in
Octave.
trouble. I'm going to start opening my collection.
I know.
The
You need to
Grandeur
open
is
your
the
collection, Jake.
Only one that So I've got bits and pieces of Glendronach that are in my collection. You know, like I said before we started filming, my collection isn't that big. Most people probably think, oh, well, you've got big. My cask collection is big because obviously we're saving stuff for the whiskey brand and we'll bottle eventually. So that side of things, collection is very big. Bottle collection, really not that impressive. I've got more of a selection than a collection. Do you know what I mean? We'll open most of our stuff for the podcast, sharing with friends, getting people like yourself along and enjoying stuff. There's a few bits and pieces that I save. I've got the last bottle that I've got of that first 94 Glendronach that just changed everything for me because I need one of them in the... You know.
That was what. Yeah, that's how you discovered Glendronach.
That was
through a single
me,
cask.
the first whiskey that I went, oh my God,
Wow.
whiskey is so much more than what everyone thinks of as whiskey, right?
Yeah.
It was just like a moment for me of like realization. And then from there, I've got a few other bits and pieces, Kinsman stuff, but the Grandeur is my ultimate kind of whiskey collection. Yeah. And I've got like 1, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever it is. But I've got missing ones. But I've got the Octaves. But I only tried the Octaves a little bit once.
I think it's superb.
Really interesting because it didn't impress me as much at the time.
Interesting.
It didn't impress me as much at the time. And the other thing, maybe I went into it with a bit of but I bought it on the back of it. So obviously it wasn't that bad. But one of those collection things, I needed it there. But maybe it was a little bit of something in my mind where obviously it's 20 years old, isn't it?
Yes.
And they put it all into octaves.
Yep.
So to me, that was
371 bottles.
To me, that sort of says the juice wasn't that good because they had to put it all in octaves.
Oh, it's
so maybe I went into it with a bit of a preconception of what I was expecting.
I think we should find an occasion to open one and review our... see if I'm as impressed as I was when I opened it.
Or see if it levels up
for a special birthday and see if it raises the bar with yourself. See, for example, I opened with a friend of mine in Ireland back in 2016, the Grandeur Batch 6, and we were both, at the time, we had a 3399 open.
Right.
And we were underwhelmed by the Grandeur. We were a bit disappointed by Batch 6 Grandeur, but that was a long time ago.
Right, okay.
So it's horses for courses, isn't it?
For sure, for sure. And this is the beautiful thing about the single casks is some of them really fucking
mind-blowing
through.
good.
Like they really shine through. And if you compare them price-wise to some of the sort of more specialty like the Grandeur or the Kinsman or whatever, the other thing I've been looking at recently, and it popped up on auction again, is birth year vintage. They did the 1994 it's like special release or I can't remember what they called it, to be honest now.
No, nor can I.
It's in a similar bottle.
Yeah, presented beautifully as well. But
Yeah,
I can't remember the one you're on
boxes
about.
as the Grand Jaw, but I think it was like a distillery, a travel exclusive.
Oh, I think it was, yes.
But it's a 26-year-old, I believe, 1994, 26-year-old.
So you're chasing that down? Or you actually bought it?
No, I'm chasing it.
Okay.
It went a little bit more than what I was willing to pay.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Look, I will chase things, and as people know, I'm, probably a little bit more frivolous than most when it comes to my spending of things that I want. I bought a lot of those Springbank Burgundies people know now, and the price of that has just gone mad.
We need to talk about them later.
They're fucking delicious. We still got one. Actually, I don't have one open here. It's up in Scotland. But I've got the Craigellachie 21 hotel release as well that I've chased down. And now the price, I don't know if it was always very reasonably priced. We started talking about it here, and then the price fucking tripled overnight. Yeah. I don't know if we've made that impact, but I can't afford to be paying fucking $700.
No, well, it's got a bit silly, hasn't it?
Some of the things are a bit silly.
So
but,
we're already Glendronach devotees. Be interesting to see if Stevie is by the end of our session today.
I get it. I do get it. I'm just maybe not as nuts as you two.
Did you try it? That's fair enough. Very few people are, I'd say. I've only just met you, Guy, but I get the feeling you're just as crazy as I am.
Obsessive collecting, I'm sure my wife would have...
Is there like have you got your kind of holy grail bottle, or are you still hunting that one down with Glendronach? Is there one out there that you really want to be part of the collection, but...
Okay, it's a good question, Stevie.
Or maybe should we not say this on so people don't go buy it and you miss out?
No, not at all. I made the decision when I was hoarding the previous batch releases that I had to decide whether, say for example, there was 8 bottles in the 2010 release and one of them was a 1971. It's a long-winded way of answering your question. But I had to make the decision if I found 7 of the 8 releases in UK, Denmark, Holland, or whatever, wherever, and I couldn't justify those 1970 bottles. Those are the ones that I'd love to get my hands on. But now there's a lot of releases from 71 and 72 that appeared in the batch releases that are stupid money now. Most of them are usually going in the auctions. You probably know this, Jake, for what, $2.5–3 grand still.
Money.
Just so in answer to your question, Stevie, I'd love to get my hands on. So I've got
those
one.
Ones, yeah.
I've got a 71.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm fairly complete with my obsessive hoarding to date. For now. So
obviously they're going to keep releasing.
To open them all.
Yes, and this is a good excuse. So we need to finish them drams and move on to...
Well, I'll tell you what, there's no better way. We were saying this yesterday at the Whiskey event.
Keep
There's
this
no better
dram in
way
hand.
than trying a dram than with one in each hand.
Oh,
I'd love
great.
to compare this.
Great spare glasses.
If you grab a couple of glasses just there, Guy, and pour away. So the next one that we're moving on to has been dubbed by the Glendronach community, the geeks and freaks like myself and Guy, as the Luke Skywalker, right?
Correct.
And this is was it Denmark or?
It's a Danish release.
Danish release.
For the Danish retailers. So what was the Jake? Remind me, there was the Yoda.
Yeah.
It was a green, a yellow.
I've got a bit tired of all the different names.
I know,
however,
right? Yeah, for sure.
And this was
an
unofficial kind of. These were dubbed unofficially, weren't they?
Correct.
Yeah,
Glendronach didn't have anything to do.
No, yeah.
And I think Ian and I talked about this, and maybe it wouldn't fit for the distillery, and obviously there's licensing, but if it was official, it would sort of turn me on a bit
the
more.
collectible side,
you
of
know,
things.
even
You
more
get Star
collectible.
Wars geeks in on it, not knowing what they're buying, and just go.
But just
like
like
that
for a-
Blade Runner bottle,
Yeah, I know.
standard Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
and it's
trying.
Sorry, I won't rub a sore spot there. Stevie's a big movie fan. And
I just
collects
can't
posters.
justify it.
But this is it. It's crazy. What
You
people
could
pay.
justify it.
Well, I do sometimes. Some months I put in silly bids, but it goes up and up and up, that
I know,
bottle.
it's
And what is
insane.
it? It's just Johnny Walker Black, pretty much, or double black in
think it's
there.
double
I hear you, Stevie. I hear you.
But anyway, yeah, well, this is it.
So yeah, a quick run through, gents, because I found this quite interesting. Of the unofficial Star Wars collection, I'm not sure whether all of them were selected in such a way, but it says matured in the finest PX sherry casks, specially selected by Billy Walker and Alan McConaughey
Right.
back in the day, who I believe was his distillery manager and his right-hand man for many years.
And I believe he's working with him now at Glendronach. We bumped into him there, didn't we?
Is he?
What's his name? Sorry.
Well, Alan McConaughey, I thought he's retired. I'm not, and whether he's retired from the industry, I'm not sure.
Maybe I got that wrong.
Yeah, really nice guy. Actually, sorted me out some cask lids back in my obsessive Glendronach hunting days.
Right.
But anyway, the bottle is at 48%, which I thought was pretty neat, and I think this is absolutely superb. And it's the standout of the three younger, because there was the Darth Vader, which was the young black tubed 9-year-old. If Ian was here, he'd put me in a place with these or remind me of the correct order. Then there was the green tubed Yoda, which I think was a 12-year-old, which I felt was a little bit thinner on the palate.
Right.
Perhaps reminded me a little bit more of the standard 12-year-old, if you will. But then there was this one, which I had to pick up as many of these as I could, because I just thought it was a great drinker, because these were only, 50, 60, 70 euros, I think, when it was released. And I did actually take when was it? I think this was bottled in 2016.
I can see why you like this so much.
It's lovely, isn't it, Stevie?
Right?
It's juicy. It's like real good juice in there.
So yeah, this was
and they're going
2016, September 2016.
They're going for quite a bit more now, though, aren't they, on auction? I mean, I think I saw these up in the hundreds.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It's such a cracking dram. This is proper sherry bomb territory now.
And for 10 years old, and again, like it has been watered down, but it takes that water so well.
It certainly
balance
does.
is there. It's very well-rounded. It's a great texture. The mouthfeel is phenomenal.
I was just thinking then, Jake, as you were describing that, I think this would be my kind of alternative lineup if I was hosting a Glendronach tasting, rather than a 12, 15, 18, 21, and then a single cask or two. Mm-hmm. This is kind of a different way of approaching it if you've been fortunate enough to pick up some of the bottlings from,
well, like you and I,
earlier days.
And even like, I mean, you say you haven't had that much Glendronach, Stevie. Did you have that 30-year-old last night?
No,
it was
where?
1993, 30-year-old. Did you not get a little lick of that?
Poor Stevie was driving last night, apparently.
On the Glendronach.
No, I was away.
You were running
the other
around
cameraman
like a
was there.
madman.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah,
okay, well, yeah. So this is it. For people, even you've tried a few bits and pieces. You've tried more than a lot of people at home. We're very lucky. Sure. We are very lucky, and I think that once you've gone through, the 12, 15, 18, and even, getting the 21, you have to be lucky. We take these things for granted.
And they're very expensive now, aren't they?
Fucking dear as anything.
Very
in comparison to where you would have been buying. I know.
Of course.
And same as me, I was buying them. I've still got a couple of cases. They're there.
A couple.
I've got one bottle, mate. A couple of cases. I've got one bottle, maybe.
I think
a little bit left.
I think with my Allardyce hoarding, I stopped with about 30 bottles, and that was enough.
Right, yeah.
From 2013 right through.
For sure. You've got to. The Allardyce is the one.
I managed to find some of the original 2009 releases from the Netherlands.
Right.
So I've got them stashed away, and I've got duplicates of some of them. So if ever there's an excuse to try some of the old
for sure
releases, perhaps we could at some point revisit that with.
It's Tuesday tomorrow. That's quite a special occasion. So,
were you one of the people that were buying the cases off us when we had Whiskies.com? Did you be familiar with that website? No, because there was
other than the lovely Glen Tuckers that you sent me, which was excellent. It lasted about 2 hours.
Glad you enjoyed that. We were selling Glendronach
we had Glendronach get in contact with us because we were undercutting everybody that they were supplying.
Well, the problem, because it was so low, and I don't know if you know how Amazon works, but they kind of take a reading from all the other websites on the internet on said product. And whatever it is, they always have to undercut it. I think that's how Amazon work, right? And what were we selling the 18 at? 60, 70 quid?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it was.
And people, there was, I think one woman were buying cases and cases of them.
That was the issue, was with that site. We launched it as a test. We sent it out to a couple of friends. Someone posted it on Facebook somewhere, and then it went crazy. And to be honest, we were planning on sort of taking it slowly, building up to a proper launch. And then within the first 24 hours, we did over 10 grand, all of the Glendronach sold out.
All of it.
And I didn't have I was a
Unsurprisingly.
self-funded enterprise alongside the Whiskey Baron, which is equally just me funding it. And so all of a sudden I had to be buying all of this stock that I couldn't fucking afford to put through the website whilst I was collecting casks for the Whiskey Baron. It was a fucking nightmare. So we did that for 8 months or so. And it just got to the point where I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah, too much.
But equally, we had within
The Glendronachs were going in the cases to people.
within a
Because it
month,
was like-
we had Glendronach get in contact and be like, I know that you've got a membership and whatever, but like, can you help us out here? Because you're affecting the supply and demand chain. And this is just a little website run by two guys out of my fucking shed at the time. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's really
I was packing all the orders and all of
I
it.
wasn't aware of that when you explained about it.
and this was just before. What was it? It wasn't the old label. It wasn't Billy Walker's label. But what was the change that happened with Rachel? Was it it changed to they took something off the label,
So what they did was...
but it didn't actually make any difference.
Yeah, well,
non-chill filtered, wasn't it?
I
yes.
was just going to say, it was...
Yeah.
It was pre that.
They started... No, they took the distribution back. It was Mangrove that distributed, wasn't it?
It was.
And then they took the distribution back and they took it in-house.
But Steve is
but the
referring to the
label-
label change.
Yeah,
though.
the label.
I don't
Ours
know
was
if it
pre. It still said non-chill filtered,
I don't know.
natural colour.
Yeah, I don't
on
know.
it.
I'll check
it did.
the one or two bottles that I might have
Yeah,
when I get home.
there was one person, I can't remember his or her name or whoever they are, literally just, there was cases going to their house because it was so ridiculous. And I'm surprised it
And
wasn't
we'd
you.
restock it. Yeah,
What?
we'd restock it and it would go within 24 hours.
It wasn't me, Stevie, but I agree. If you loved sherry bombs and you loved Glendronach, and you wasn't buying multiple of the 18-year-old Allardyces when they were priced below £70, you were missing a huge trick.
Yeah,
And as
this was only
someone
4
said
years
to
ago.
me last September from Brown Foreman, whoever took over Glendronach, it was always, I wouldn't say underpriced. Is that the wrong terminology? But it was ridiculously well priced.
Good value.
It was only going to go in one direction, wasn't it?
For sure.
It was only ever going to go in one direction.
And I mean, look, last night we were lucky enough, we got involved in the Macallan tasting and we were
this was
trying
good.
30-year-old Macallan, the double cask of the sherry oak, you know. And you look at those bottles and they're, you know, 3.5, 4.5 grand a bottle. And then you look
That's
at the
unbelievable.
30-year-old Glendronach and I think it's what, 900 quid?
I don't know.
I think is what
Yeah.
they kind of sell for, give or take.
Yeah, I
You
think it's
know?
about right nowadays. Yeah.
Roughly nowadays.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
think
kinda
so.
like
About £1,000, there or thereabouts.
something around there.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, it's like, no disrespect to Macallan, but this is Glendronach's episode, so fuck off. You know, Glendronach is so much better.
Have you ever sat down and poured yourself a Macallan 18 against a Glendronach 18? And I'm not disrespect to Macallan again because
Yes,
this
I've
is
done the
being
18s.
recorded.
Last night was the first time in a while where I've been given a good pour of both 30s and I've been able to have a minute to try them. And they're great whiskies, don't get me wrong. It's decent.
And which one came out on top for you, Jake?
The sherry. It's just got that little bit more depth and that leatheriness and that sort
No,
of...
but I mean, if you're comparing Glendronach and Macallan, the standard 18-year-olds,
oh,
there's no-
sorry. I thought you meant last night with the
No,
two
no, no.
30-year-olds.
I don't think there's any comparison.
I don't think there's
really.
any comparison.
Correct.
When I did a little taste off myself, but that's quite a long time ago.
But equally, they're like, you look at the price of them as well. And I mean, I know you say, oh, just do it from a flavour point of view, one up, you know, heads up against each other. And there isn't much of a comparison. But when you take it to price into consideration, it's like,
It's a no-brainer.
I don't understand who's picking the Macallan. I don't understand what's happening here. Why is this even a conversation?
Yeah.
You know?
But even this 10-year-old compared to what those Macallans we had last night, I'm
that's
getting
interesting,
so
Stevie.
much more.
I mean,
out
you
of
tried
this.
the Folio 7.
Stevie, I forgot you. If you took the bait, you love the Glendronach.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, but as you say that there's no comparison. Like, yeah, but even those 30-year-old Macallans, listen, they were nice.
Right.
They were smooth. You know, they had stuff going on. But you know, even this 10-year-old is making more of a lasting impression than those
Right.
old, expensive, well overpriced Macallans.
Fair enough.
But
I'm just going between the two of these as well. And I think that this is definitely more You said this is PX, yeah?
That's what the label says.
That's
yes.
what it says. And it's just PX.
Yep, apparently
Yeah.
so.
definitely,
And it is that, even though they've watered it down, it's that texture, you know, again, is very, very coating. It's oily, you know. I wouldn't quite go as far as saying it's got the viscosity of some of the other ones that we'll probably come on to,
no,
but
sure it hasn't.
it's really,
Such a good drinker. if you like sherried, non-peated sherried whiskey, this is so good. It captured a lot of fans, didn't it, when the Luke appeared?
Yeah, it's velvet. It's velvet.
You're impressed, Stevie, aren't you?
It's lovely.
It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really
Even
good.
going back to this 8-year-old, you're saying bread and butter pudding, or was it you, Guy?
No, it's actually Jake's note.
There's a wonderful kind of creaminess when you leave it sitting,
Yeah.
you know, for a while that comes through.
Do you remember we were chatting, Stevie, about potentially lining them up and letting them to breathe? So it's a great idea to do that and go back,
that's
and go
what
back
I
to them
do,
later on.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a
That's
little bit
what I
different
do.
for me, of course, because I've tried them all before. But if you've not tried the expression before, it'd be interesting. We need to leave a sample of that for Ian and see what he thinks of that, actually. Because I think as an entry level, well, it's not. Is it an entry level? I suppose it was a
Maybe
exclusive.
now, maybe no,
Yeah,
but yeah,
an
at the
entry-
time it was created as an entry level. Though this is the thing,
It's just mad.
the
So
sort of
good.
the thought process behind it when Billy would have been bottling that would definitely. I mean, it was going into supermarkets. That is by definition an entry level.
Apparently so, unless, like you say, some of your audience have got better info than me. Apparently, it was just better for the bottle for the French supermarket chain. That's mad, isn't it? It's really
It was
enjoyable.
probably in I can't remember what the French supermarket's called, but
It's
yeah.
careful. My Midlands dulcet tones, how it's pronounced, but it's
the supermarket?
yeah, it's a chain. Yeah, it's a specific chain.
Okay.
Not sure how it's spelt. CARRE. Careful supermarkets.
I bet they were
So that was what it was released for.
well pleased with that.
Oh well, it's just different entry level kind of stuff. Very good.
So these kind of Star Wars tube releases, there's 4 of them, is there?
I believe so.
4, okay.
Because they released that there was the 3, 9, 10 and a 12. So that's the Yoda, the Luke and the Darth Vader.
What was the other one?
Then there was this really old one.
There was a yellow one, wasn't there?
There was I can't remember the colour of the tube, Stephen.
Yeah,
Again, if Ian was here, he'd be shouting at me, guys, saying obviously it was. Didn't they call it the Mace Windu or something like this? Was
Purple.
like a beige. Yeah, correct. Maroon. That's right, Stephen. Well remembered. Like a maroon, but a purpley
That's
tube.
just his Star Wars knowledge shining through.
Nerd.
He doesn't know anything about Glendronach. You're a fucking geek.
Well, you know.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Because, yeah.
Anyway, Stevie, you're right. There was another one, and I think it was a 92.
I'm sure there was a yellow one, but maybe, yeah. But, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not up on the
If you're going to say
Star Wars collection.
I'm just having a look now, actually, just so we can. That's it. It was purple.
You're right. Well done.
Yeah, green, blue, black, and purple.
But what was the age? Was it a
thought there was a
25-year-old?
yellow.
Something ridiculous. 92?
It says yes.
Is that
You're
right?
1992, 25-year-old. Okay.
Yeah.
So a 9, 10, and 12, and then a
They're this huge jump.
25-year-old.
Yeah, which I think was released quite a few years later, but I can't remember when. Maybe 2019 or just maybe before
Well, you can get the
COVID?
whole set for $3,000 now if you want. So
Really? That sounds a bit overpriced.
I mean, isn't everything these days though with whiskey?
Can have one for
everything else?
2,900, Jake. Sorry. No sales allowed here. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Have you tried the 25?
Yes, I have
Yeah.
actually tried
Yeah.
a sample of it. It's very nice.
I bet.
92 is one of my favourite vintages, but we'll come on to that later.
For sure. No, absolutely.
So what do you think of that then?
I really like that.
It's good, isn't it?
It's your classic Glendronach, right? The first one we started with is a little bit lighter, a little bit more interesting. Talk about entry level. I mean, it's premium. It's delicious, but it's definitely kind of a more approachable dram if you're not into your sherries. This is like it's the single casks, but it's just watered down. It's more, again, it's kind of an entry level single cask, which is why I can understand the following of it. You know, it's got everything that you want there. It's got that velvety sort of mouthfeel. Yeah, really delicious.
So while you've got some of that left in your glass,
I'm going to save a little bit of
Yeah,
each.
I'm
I'm going to keep
keeping
going
them.
back to all of them. I'm going to set a little line
Keep
up
them.
there.
always top of it later. Excuse
Thank
me.
you, sir. So this is the cask
So-
strength, one of the old school ones.
Yep.
Before it
So if I try
Or
and
it kind of changed a little bit.
yeah. So trying to introduce this one. I've enjoyed. I think might be the third or fourth bottle of this cask strength batch 3. So this one was released in. I can't remember. Just let me check. Bear with me.
Have you had this one before?
This was
Yes.
they started them in like what 2010 or something. So this would have been 2012, 2013.
Well done. Yeah, this was actually bottled. So I've took the trouble to save trying to hold the bottle up to the light like you're doing.
Well done.
I've gone to the trouble to look at the batch codes and the rest of it. So this was bottled on the 29th of October 2013. So this is another one that's coming up to 11 years old. So
and this one, are all of the cask strengths Oloroso and PX?
According to the labels,
I think
yes.
they're all Oloroso.
Yes.
Well, they
yes,
were.
yes.
All,
They were.
I don't know then when
Yes.
it changed to the blue. It was batch 7, wasn't it? That they changed.
I think so. Yes, the labels
blue
changed.
or
Yes, after
poison.
batch 6, 1 to 6 are all the same
Look.
The same look. Yes, correct. And I particularly liked batch 3, which is bottled at 54.7, I think.
A little bit more heat here, isn't there? You know?
Yeah,
Obviously, I know.
So the
quite a
cask
silly thing
strength
to say,
batches, I
but-
think, can be quite hit and miss. Some people talk about
54.9.
54.9. Okay, so 55% really.
But
We are moving into a slightly hotter zone for sure.
Indeed.
Non-age statement whiskies, aren't they?
yes, they are.
And this is the thing. I think these were a bit more hit and miss with some people, and it does take a bit more of a sort of a whiskey geek enthusiast. Someone who likes those heavier.
I love this batch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this batch. I get a
What
lot
is it
of,
about this one that stands out to you then?
I get a lot of
Because I'm assuming that you've tried all of them.
No, I haven't tried all of them. I've tried 1, 2, and 3, and 5. I've missed 4, but I've got some, but I've not opened it yet. Mm-hmm. I've not tried a 4, Jake. There's lots of ginger notes in amongst the sherry, but I think it needs time in the glass, like some of the older sherry bombs as well. It needs a bit of time in the glass.
Definitely, yeah. I always found that leaving these to sit for a minute, they open
it
up
does.
a little bit more. Equally, adding a drop of water, I never do it straight away. But
Yep.
after they've sat in the glass for 10, 15 minutes, add a little drop of water as you're sort of
It benefits
allowing
from
it
it.
to open up.
Definitely needs. I
it's
think
hotter,
it needs.
but I agree with you, that gingery...
You get gingery, but gingery notes and lots
Yeah.
of nutmeg and all the usual sherry and raisins and caramel.
It's not so hard as to sort of make you recoil, though. Yes,
No,
there's
no,
definitely
no.
a full-bodied alcohol in the glass, but some 55% whiskies will make you, ooh, really gives you a lot of nose prickle, and it kind of interferes with the flavour.
The integration's still, it's
there.
It's really good still,
It's
yeah.
there, for sure.
Yep.
What I'm going to do, gentlemen, while you're talking.
You're going to pour them out, let them
I'm just
breathe.
going to pour them out.
Good
and
shout.
breathe. Yeah. Which is what
Good
we were chatting
shout.
about, wasn't it? So I'm going to do that one there.
Jake, obviously you love Glendronach and you collect a lot of Glendronach like Guy.
I only really collect now the Grandeur because...
Okay, that
because
was
this
going to be
the
my
thing.
question
Look, don't
what...
get me wrong, it's beautiful when you've got a collection of the cask strength, when you've got a collection... I can't warrant, having a lineup of cask strength that would have sold back in the day for fucking... I think the original one sold for what, like 60 odd quid?
Sorry, Joe. These were 50, 60, 70 pounds, I think.
Right, originally?
Yeah.
And now these sell for...
Did
I was going to say 150 is a minimum, I
Yeah,
think I've ever
we
seen.
chatted about one recently in our chat, didn't we? Did one of these go for nearly £300
That
on
doesn't
Scotch
surprise
whisky
me.
auction?
I think most of them sell for over 200.
Yeah.
Most of them sell for over 200. I think the cheapest I've seen any of the kind of older ones sell for is 150. But I can't warrant it. I would love it
I think that's overpriced for what it is, honestly.
for sure. And
It
this is
is.
the thing.
As much
It
as you
is.
enjoy it,
Of
it's
course.
still...
I am
Yes,
a
yes,
geek.
yes.
I am a
Still
collector,
much, yeah.
but I've got to always look at things of like in the bottle at the end of the day, pouring it in a glass. Let's get it. Yes, I have a problem, but I would rather
You have a problem?
I'd rather direct that problem into realms where it's not, because 250, 300 quid, and then you're looking at the Grand Jaws, which is not that age matters. This is a non-age statement, cask strength versus 20 plus year old whiskies
Yeah, indeed.
that are 400-500 quid. Sometimes more, granted, but you can get them. I've picked up my Grand Jaws 400-600 quid.
Yep.
And so I can't warrant it. I love picking up some great single cask bottles.
Yeah.
I normally open them though.
I've
got that's my problem is I buy them and then I go, this would be good. I'm going to save this for a special occasion, and then somebody like Guy turns up and I go,
he'll love
it. So that's a good enough reason for me. Do you know what I mean?
And why not as well? That's
why not?
So that's one of the reasons I wanted to open all these for this occasion.
Well, you're a gent, mate. Honestly,
because it's an excuse to open them and enjoy them with people that are going to appreciate them.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's what whiskey's all about. And I'm sure a lot of people at home, sometimes we get comments. Certainly, I do. I know about me being out of touch with the average sort of spender, and I
really.
Oh, definitely. I think people think that I could be a bit frivolous with my purchases, and a lot of people are looking at stuff at £50 is a lot of money, and it is a lot of money to spend on something that you're going to consume. But when you've got the passion that you have, Guy, or that Stevie and I have, and you can really enjoy it, you can't take money with you at the end of the day. And that's how I always look at things. I'd much rather have an experience in an afternoon like this, and you're the very generous individual this time round, and next time you come, we will be opening our whiskies and sharing them with you. But it's just so much more to me to be able to enjoy this sort of thing, like you say, with like-minded people, get the conversation going. There's no point in me buying my, and when I finally open the Grand Jaws, £500, £600 a bottle. I'm not going to sit there like a miser drinking them all myself. No. Then who the fuck am I going to talk to about it in 2 years' time? I want to be able to share it with 100%. Stevie, with yourself. Guy, do you remember that Glendronach that we had?
Yep.
And even if it's just like today, on just a Monday afternoon, and because you made the time to come and see us, and I'm sure, it's the first time we've met you, Guy, this will be a day that we all remember. And I'm sure that the thing that we remember, aside from a good time we had, was the great whiskies that we shared. And that's the point of conversation. And that's why it's special to me. So, I'm sure people at home may be looking at some of these whiskies and going, fucking hell, I would never spend that much, I'd maybe spend, the 35 euros on the Octarine, but I'm not going to go further than that.
I think that the little caveat I'd add there, it's a very good point you've made, Jake, but you have to remember that when, even in my situation, a lot of the single cask and these I bought, they were significantly cheaper because a lot of these were purchased in, obviously, one of these is a more recent purchase, but the prices have gone up.
It's quite a jump.
A huge jump.
But even not as much of a jump with Glendronach as we've seen elsewhere.
No.
So still good value, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. And you're talking about enjoying it. I mean, a bit of a name drop, but friends of ours, Andy Wallace. I took about a handful for the recent event that I mentioned in Campbelltown, and Andrew's face lit up because I took a handful for him to open.
Love it.
People love Glendronach, don't they?
For sure.
And I personally think for a quality sherry dram, I think it was £110 a bottle.
Okay.
I think that's, in this day and age, for the quality of the sherry dram, is good value for money.
Definitely.
I don't think that's been ostentatious, if you like. It's a fair price.
Yeah, no,
it's
look,
kind of a good point that you were alluding to there, Jake, about you don't see some whiskey like some whiskies do at auction and things like that. And I think what's great about Glendronach is people do buy them and sell them or trade them or whatever because they love it so much. It's not like a Springbank. That's why it hasn't gone mental. And some people might argue that this is much better liquid than Springbank or vice versa, but different comparison. For sure. But each to their own. These could go for even more, and some of them do go for a little bit above what we're all willing to pay, what you're willing to pay as a true enthusiast. But I think for the liquid, and going back to that 30-year-old, it's still such reasonable money for such good liquid. I don't see these being flipped around too much. That it hasn't kind of caught on to a Springbank or an Ardbeg,
Yeah.
Fair point,
and when
Stephen.
it does,
fair point.
When it does, it and it will. I think when people do start to clock on collectively, the flippers, that people really fucking enjoy collecting this, and drinking this. You will see it go nuts. So I still think now you can pick these up. We all look at auctions at Glendronach all the time. There are some bangers there. The only ones that I see go really crazy and have done in the last 3 to 4 years, and you can say that about a lot of whiskies, is the what do they call the series with the 92 and the 4 you've got here?
They're just the single casks.
They are just single casks.
casks.
Okay, yeah.
But
those are the ones that have
They do them
skyrocketed.
Oh,
as an
yeah,
annual
this-
release, and then they've got distillery exclusives as well. But I think they're all under the same. I don't think they differ.
They look the same, the label.
I think they're
Yeah.
all the same.
Okay, yeah.
The only subtle difference was, Stevie, was in Billy's era, they were single casks on the label. And then when Brown Foreman were at that, well, they're obviously still at the helm, purchased the three distilleries. I don't know why they changed it, but they're now called cask bottlings.
They're still single
I
cask.
think
because
I think it's to protect
they're
them because of
re-racking
re-racking.
and- exactly.
And you know, of course, we're
You're
recording,
absolutely right.
but
That's a good bit of geeky knowledge. I like that guy.
yeah,
Good shout out on that.
Well, I did a bit of geeky looking into it, and I think it's because perhaps the American culture is more protective of libel issues, and it's not been in a single cask. But I thought the understanding was in the Scotch whisky industry, re-racking is a well-known thing, so there's nothing to be ashamed in saying a single cask is a single cask, but they chose to call them a cask bottling.
But that's still a
think
single
it's-
cask.
It's one.
It's
well,
one cask that has been used. It's one cask's worth of liquid
Yes.
that has been re-racked potentially.
it's the interpretation of it, isn't it?
Exactly. And this is the thing. It's like, is it double matured? It's still one cask's worth of whiskey. This is the thing.
Gets a
People
little bit
talk about
difficult.
the SWA's sort of, influence.
There are some grey.
yes.
And ultimately, I don't think that they are clear enough on this side of things. They say, oh, it's very strict. Actually, as a bottler, I can tell you, it's not that fucking strict.
No.
Not on that side of things. We've been pulled up on other stuff before, and fair fucking play. Things need to be right, and we need to be clear. But I have a lot of respect for Glendronach on this point. Single cask versus
Cask bottling.
cask bottling, which is something I always forget that they do. But
Yeah.
it was a really sort of important point,
Yeah.
and I think that it's good. I would say I want more information. I want to know, has it been re-racked? Because that's why it matters, right? It matters because
I agree,
what has
actually.
happened with this cask, what has happened with this liquid, has it been a single cask or has it been re-racked from one cask to another and it's one cask's worth of liquid? It doesn't matter at the end of the day.
No.
But it's interesting for
it's interesting to keep-
weirdos like us to
It's
go,
in-
oh,
yes.
well, it's spent 10 years in a
In
second
bourbon.
fill, whatever, and now we're
Yeah.
finished in a da-da-da.
Agreed.
And, oh, well, this is cool. And if you compare it to that batch, it's da-da-da-da-da. Does it matter? It matters not.
No,
but
no.
it's just geeky information that we can latch onto
Yes.
and get involved with and talk about and get excited about,
for sure.
It doesn't change anything for me that the fact that Brown Foreman decided it should be called, or classed as, classed as a cask bottling,
Yeah.
rather than in Billy's era, it's classed as a single cask.
Yeah,
Because the last cask it sat in means it was in a single cask.
for sure.
But I think a lot of sherry whiskies start their life in bourbon to knock the edges off the spirit.
Yeah.
For the maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, depends
Yeah.
on the individual distillery.
yeah,
then
yeah.
it's racked into sherry anyway.
There's a few distilleries now as well that are doing.
I think-
we talk about finishing periods. There's a few distilleries that are doing starting periods, and quite a few of them are choosing virgin oak casks as a starting period.
That's
The
interesting.
English whiskey company doing that, aren't they?
They are one of the ones. Yeah,
I didn't know
correct.
that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. To take the edges off and to, first of all, boosting in a load of colour,
Yeah.
taking the edges off, adding quite a depth of flavour, and then being able to go, okay, now you spend time in refill bourbon, refill sherry, whatever. And it
It's
just means
fascinating.
it's really interesting. There's so much there.
Without going off at a tangent, I was talking to one of the distillery managers at Springbank recently, talking
Right.
about putting stuff into port when it's relatively young spirit, and having to take it back out of port and re-rack it into bourbon
Right.
to allow it to calm down again on one of the Kilkerran casks. But that's for another discussion. But obviously, I
But
find
this
it
is the beauty of it.
fascinating.
Yeah, definitely.
Playing tunes with what you're doing with your casks.
Making sure that everything's singing the right
It is
song,
the most
exactly.
diverse alcoholic liquid, right?
Because we
Steve,
spend
it's
so much time with it. in
So
cask.
interesting whiskey.
Yeah, no,
It is so damn interesting.
Fascinating, yeah. Which is why I fell in love with it, right?
Is anybody interested for the next dram yet?
Absolutely.
And I
I've
would
gone
say,
back
before
to
we
the
move on
10.
to the next
Oh,
one,
go on, Jake,
this
yes.
cask strength, as we said it would,
The longer it's in the glass,
it's really opened up. And sorry, is it straight PX and Oloroso?
according to the label, yeah. It's
Because I'm
pink.
getting this really wonderful kind of cereal, like barley. No, I'm getting this.
It's beautiful.
It's stunning.
It's
good.
really, really good. I know Stevie mentioned a bit of a nose prickle in the spirity, but of course,
I think they start off a little bit
Yeah, of
unbalanced.
course.
So
Fine, mate,
give it
you're
a
fine.
minute to
in the,
breathe.
yes,
You know.
Well, it
you've
was
gone from
unbalanced. It was
48% to
There was just a hotness, but coming from an 8 or 10 to a cast
Yes.
strength, you're going to get that. I have gone back to the 10 And this is
go on, Stevie.
equally opened up. It's getting
Yeah.
juicier and juicier. Like really ripe,
You're impressed, aren't you?
blackberries here.
I can see by your body language you're loving it.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Relaxing into the dram.
Yes, indeed.
It's great. It's great. Go on then.
So what have you got
what's
for us next? The next treat
So I'm
in the
still
lineup.
nosing this Cask Strength 3. Right, okay, next up. Excuse me. So, right, let's get my glasses on because this is one of the younger handfills from latter years. Okay, so this is Cask 5036. This was bottled last October 23, and this is 62.3%.
Taking a step up here.
Yeah, matured in an Oloroso puncheon. So a lot of the handfuls don't actually give you a specific date of bottling because, of course, you're bottling yourself.
For sure.
But it was distilled in 2011.
Okay.
So it's about 12 years old.
And you picked this up yourself at the distillery?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yes.
I know they, unfortunately, I don't know who's going to a distillery, pouring themselves a handful and flipping it at auction.
I know.
You're being very bold and fucking stupid, to be honest with you, because as I'm sure we're about to discover, they're amazing.
I don't think
this
it pays for their fuel.
Do you know what I mean?
Like-
it's not worth the money.
No,
it really
it
isn't
can't
worth
be.
the money.
There's
But you bought this when you were up there,
Yes, I
and
bought
you
a
visited
couple.
the distillery often?
Yes, yeah. I've been visiting it for quite a few years now.
He's got a points card.
He's got a flat opposite.
Your next dram is free.
I wish. But it's interesting to draw the comparison because the dram that's going to follow this is another handfill, which is of a very similar age, which is why I brought them, which was distilled in 2005, I think. Just to reason why I brought them. Yeah, 2005. So this was bottled in 2017. So it's about 11 or 12 years old. This is just at the end of the period of time where I believe they were using direct fired stills.
Right.
So it's an interesting comparison because they're both Oloroso. One might have just been at the end of the period of time where they were distilling using direct fired stills.
Okay.
And this one obviously clearly isn't because this is one of the more modern handfills. So this is
Very generous, thank you, sir.
Cask
So pure Oloroso,
5036.
hand filled from the
Oloroso
distillery,
country.
give or
Yeah.
take 12 years.
Yeah, there or thereabouts. So, don't worry, we've only got 4 left to go.
Don't want it to end. I remember my first ever kind of whiskey trip with Jake is when we went and bottled our first 3 expressions.
You need to hear about my first whiskey trip as well.
And please, I'd like to hear that afterwards. And we went over to Isla. Well, we went up to Whiskey Broker, over to Isla, and then we went over to Speyside. We went to Glendronach.
Of course. I can't go near, and I know,
But-
this is the thing, Glendronach isn't Speyside, it's Highland, but I always think of it as Speyside because I never go Speyside and don't visit
Go to Glendronach. Even though
doing
it's
the
just
same.
into the
It
Highlands,
is just that little bit outside
over the
doing the
border,
same.
into Huntley.
Dragged him along.
It's his fault. Wow, by the way. We need to talk about that in a minute.
Okay, Stevie. I'm with you.
However, I remember that first trip, all the distillery shops, Bunnahabhain,
Yep.
Kalila, where did we go? We didn't get into Glenrothes, Glendronach.
You mentioned Boona.
Yeah, we went over to
went to Isla first,
the week
okay.
before, yeah.
Got you, Stevie,
Jake
got
was
you.
buying all these handfills, and 2019 it was, or maybe the end of 18, I can't remember. And they were
Pre-COVID.
pretty reasonable, even for them. And I
Hmm.
was thinking, like, and Jake was like, "You're not getting anything, mate." And I was brand new, right? And I was like, "Nah, 60 quid, 70 quid, man. What's he doing?" No. Glendronach the same. I think you picked up a few handfills there.
Bought a load of stuff.
You must have
I
got that
fucking-
3399 about then. No, but that was earlier.
No, that was
Sorry.
fine.
Anyway, Stevie, back to you.
That's
back
all right.
to your
No,
story.
no.
Go on.
It's
Yep.
not that interesting. But I
is.
kick myself
For not doing it.
for not picking up something at every shop, if not a fucking,
Yeah.
a carrier bag full from each distillery at that price. Hindsight is a wonderful thing.
It is. Of
Which is
course.
why now when I visit a distillery,
He buys more than I do most of the time now.
I do. I get
Sucker
it all.
for punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kick myself, especially going Glendronach. I remember being in their shop there. I don't know if they've changed their they didn't really have a visitor centre.
No, it's a lot more corporate now. Brown Forman have refurbished it all. Have you been there since? I'm sure Ian has.
Right, it was just a little shop.
It was a little tiny shop, yes.
Yeah.
Little tiny...
And I remember the fucking shelves
Ben
full
Karen
of
used to work
handfills and whatever, and I was just didn't know a thing. But
well,
we will go there again.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, Steve.
Exactly. What does everyone think of this?
This is beautiful. This is treacly. I love the
it's strong though, isn't it?
It's strong, and that's why I was just about the front end is syrup, is thick, is
it's got so much going on.
Bursts of flavour. It gets kind of astringent towards the back end, which is why I'm surprised it's only 12, because actually it tastes like
it's been in there
one of those older whiskies.
Yeah.
You know, we were saying just before we started, and the cameras were rolling last night, we were at the whiskey event and we were trying some crazy whiskies, and that 65-year-old Glendronach sherry cask, obviously that much time in wood and it becomes like almost chewing on wood and kind of quite astringent.
Too much.
This has kind of got that vibe, but I like that sometimes. Sometimes it can get overcooked, and it is. The Glendronach wasn't too much. It was that latest in the Mr. George Legacy. I think the 4th edition. Phenomenal dram. Really, I mean, $7.5 a bottle. You'd want it to be, right?
Yeah.
But this is the thing. This to me,
I could buy a car for that.
a lot of fucking things for that. But this is the thing. Is like, a lot of people think that like those old school whiskies have to be of age, and this is why I always say age doesn't matter, because you look at this, which we're talking circa 12 years old, it's got not as much of that, but it's got that vibe to it.
It ticks a lot of boxes.
Essence of an old school whiskey.
The wood really got into this liquid. Yeah.
But it's interesting because a few of the other fellow Glendronach geeks that we're all chatting to occasionally were... They make a good point. This is a little bit spirity. I agree. And I believe, so if this spirit would be in Billy's era, wouldn't it? So if this is 2011 spirit, correct? Yeah, be Billy's spirit or Alan McConaughey's spirit or whatever, Billy's maid spirit.
Yeah.
If I was being really critical, it perhaps needs another 18 months, 2 years in the cask. Just perhaps.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's still up at 62%.
It's
You
interesting.
said that this is the more recent one, though.
Yeah,
that you bought.
so
So he
that's
wouldn't
why-
have bottled it.
Yeah, so no, correct.
He would have known it needed an extra 18 months.
So
That's
perhaps,
interesting, though. Why do you think it needs a little bit longer? What is it that you think it's missing?
just a little bit of spirit. Well, this is why perhaps if we just
Dual wheeled.
if we do a comparison,
Thank you.
Ian's not here. Exactly.
No, Ian would love this actually. But
No, Ian always says double fisting, which we just can't get away from. It's dual wielding. That's just
Double-
behave, do you know what I mean?
double fisting.
Double
Is there anything to be
fisting.
counselled for?
Yeah, I know, right?
That's it.
Fucking hell.
Okay,
guys.
so no, there's no to apologise to
this
me.
is the first one is the newer one.
Right.
Yes.
2011 to
Yeah.
2023.
So I think
give or take.
it's worth doing a double header on this one because
Okay.
I bought this one along because this is one of the older school. I don't know whether this was distilled using the direct fire stills.
Already on the nose, it's a lot calmer for me.
Yeah,
But sorry.
I wonder if that's exactly what I was wondering if you guys are picking up. That's why I specifically brought this one. These are both, incidentally, these have both been open for a while.
And sorry, strength on the first
62 point something.
and strength on the
And
second.
strength on this one is 57.7.
Okay, so it is a good bit lower anyway.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's more approachable on the nose straight away.
It doesn't say, but I'm assuming this is for the record. This is cask 1441. So there was cask 1441 and 1444 that were both released just after Rachel was at the helm, and I think they're both brilliant picks. No disrespect to the previous cask, but there's something about this one, given the fact that they're both Oloroso, they're both about 12 years old, even though we haven't got a specific, date when it was hand-filled in the shop.
Yeah.
There's something about this one that's just a bit more rounded and a bit more balanced. To my humble palate, anyway.
No, for sure.
So
It's an interesting comparison. What I would say about both of them, And the first one now is a little bit more opening up, but I think similar to the cask strength.
I love doing this, going backwards and forwards. Sorry,
It's brilliant,
really
isn't it?
proper
We're parked 5 deep. Well, I certainly am. Anyway, I'm saving a little bit of all of them.
Pre-dram.
I'm sorry, gents, but you knew it was going to be heavy when you invited me along,
Don't
didn't
you
you?
fucking apologise for anything, sir. This is brilliant. I'm in my fucking heaven right now. This is a great way to spend a Monday. But I think what's interesting about these hand fills, and obviously you poured these a good minute before we started dramming to
10 minutes ago? 15
I
minutes?
think that even still, they are quite muted on the nose to begin with. And it just goes to show, don't rush this sort of thing. You know, get it in your glass, let it open up, spend some time with it. And I think it's wonderful, you know, to do a tasting. Like you say, this is kind of, you set it up as a bit of a tasting event for us here today.
Well, I've tried to, yes.
And you're doing a fantastic job, and I'm really enjoying it. And this is how people should drink these sorts of limited edition Glendronachs. And let us know, guys, as we're dramming through here. Have you tried any of these? What are you getting involved in recently? This is really exciting for me. I think what's great about it is being able to go back and forth. And particularly for these cask strength, these hand fills, they need a minute to open up because I'm
well,
sucking
they
on
do.
these two.
Now, can I just pick up on something? I know Ian's not here, and this is not a criticism.
It's all right.
I saw
Criticise him. He's not here.
No. He made a good point. I can't remember which episode it was, a few months ago, that he likes to open something and pour it in the glass and he's hit with it, wow, and he's really impressed and all the rest of it off the bat. Mm-hmm. I get it. I get it. But I think there's certain whiskies that do need more time in the glass to fully appreciate them. And I think these are those.
Yes.
And they do benefit from some time.
Time in the glass.
I hear what Ian's saying, but he wants to be wowed and blown away maybe from initial nosing, tasting, but...
For sure.
What does he know?
That's why he wasn't invited today. Do you know what I mean? We just wanted to make sure the real Glendronach geeks got involved. I'm sure he's watching this kicking himself now.
That's not fair, Ian. I didn't say that.
Glendronach geek beyond.
I know he likes his sherry whiskey. It's a shame he's not here because it'd be interested in his opinion. But we can sample him all up and he can... But Jake, you're quite correct. I think these need some time.
They're just a little... The palate is there. There's a lot going on. Like I say, treacly, syrupy with the first, same with the second. I'm getting a little bit more of that kind of rich, juicy sort of plums and figs. And
on the second one?
On the second one,
yes.
There's a bit more of that. The first one still maybe needs a little bit more time. But the nose of both, I would say, is somewhat muted. And I think that we're going to see that open up as we move through now. But the second one is my preference at the moment.
Gents, do you need a nosing glass? Because you've got a nosing glass each here.
Probably.
And you could then decant them into...
I mean...
It's all right.
I'm not getting too bad of a nose, to be honest.
Since I'm near your glass selection...
That first one has a real nose prickle. And the difference in percentage is about...
I agree, Stevie.
Sorry.
It's about 5%.
5%. Okay, so not
about 5%.
Huge amounts.
No. Perhaps it is the way the spirit... Sorry, perhaps it was where the spirit was made. I don't know. We don't know.
For sure. I mean, also... The first one's a lot more drying, but that would probably make sense if it's a little bit higher in alcohol. However, that doesn't mean anything, really.
They're both Oloroso.
It's non-specific on the older ones. Sorry, as in older releases, not older in terms of age.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think most of our palates would agree that this is Oloroso matured. And that seems to be the consensus.
Yeah.
You speak to people that have also tried them.
I assume so. And, single cask, it's, No, I'd be surprised if it's not.
I think a word you used a minute ago was bursts of flavour. Yeah, like popping fruit. Okay. And that's what I get off. I think you said it on this one, and I got it on here. But then you move to this, and that kind of amps up, that kind of popping notes of those dark fruits, right?
It's really difficult to compare these head to head, but that's why I brought them. This is supposed to be difficult because you've got two very similar aged Glendronach hand fills. Oh yes, indeed.
But I know what you mean.
I mean,
and I had to.
I can't detect
drink some
any
water
difference
there
in
to.
Colour for sure.
I mean,
it's the same dram.
But we know it's not. You've seen me pour them, right?
Switch it up.
And as I saw Dave Allen do last week, a few weeks we're taking the mick, and we got one under each nostril, but. Doesn't really help your olfactory senses, does it? This is quite a heavy lineup, gents. So thank you for bearing with me.
Oh.
Thank you for sharing. This is phenomenal. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself.
So I think
There's a huge difference here.
We don't need to rush anything, but before you nail these, we need to look at the 93s and the 92s later, and then round them all up later, because they're so heavy. Your palate's so overwhelmed with all the
Sherry.
yeah, yeah, but the spirit's so strong it deals with it.
I'm not good with drinking a lineup of the same kind of finished whiskies. Let's say, if I'm being honest. Like now, I'm getting to the time where I'm just like,
from a palate fatigue and kind of like a tasting note point of view?
Yeah, and listen, like obviously it's easy if you had you had a peated and a bourbon and a sherry. You know, of course there's going to be you'll be like, oh, there's difference here.
Yeah,
you know, silly thing to say, really. But at the same time, for me, where I'm at in my journey, fifth whiskey now, it's hard. It's hard work for me to try and really pick out differences. If you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
5 quite heavily sherry whiskies deep, but
I mean, especially these last two, right? It's give or take
very
the
overwhelming.
Same thing. Like
agree.
it's the
Yeah.
same style, it's the same
agree.
age, it's the same, you know.
So I think perhaps you should part them, maybe go back to them later.
And crack the Port Charlotte open.
This is Glendronach Limited Edition.
No,
We're doing nothing of the sort.
I like
I tell
that,
you what's really
Stevie.
interesting about that, and again, I hate to name drop here, but we
Go on,
lucky
Billy.
enough to not Billy this time.
Oh boy.
Lucky enough, obviously, to spend some time with Colin Dunn last night.
Absolute
and Colin
legend.
is somebody who's again very generous with his time, and for some reason is willing to spend time with me. He's an absolute gent, and I've had a few chats with him now, and hoping to meet up with him again soon and have more of a chat, because I'm always learning from these people. Yes, from Billy, from Colin. Talk about Rebecca Jago before we got going, because we opened that last drop bottle,
Which
All
was
of these
lovely, by the
people-
way.
It's good, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Well, I wanted to make sure we at least gave you something,
Very nice.
something special.
We need to do this again.
I've got
ideas for another one.
Every
But carry
we're
on.
doing this
Jake,
for the rest
carry
of
on.
our lives.
Carry on,
fortnight.
Jake. You were mid-sentence and I interrupted you.
But no, it's fine. Don't be silly. But I had a conversation with Colin there not long ago about tasting whiskies, and to your point here, Stevie, which is why I bring it up. Trying whiskies and whiskies that are of a similar ilk, or of ultimately the same ilk.
Yeah.
And obviously, as a bottler, that's something that's for me sometimes not a problem, but an obstacle to overcome. You recall there not long ago we bottled a 25-year-old Bamor, which is phenomenal that we were able to bottle a 25-year-old Bamor. It's a wonderful distillery. I'm very privileged that we've been able to get that liquid under our brand. If only we could get some Glendronach under our brand. Brown Foreman, if you're listening. We're here. We're happy to buy a cask. But, we bottled that Bamor, and it actually came from a lineup guy. And to give you a little bit of insight here, behind the scenes of the whiskey variant, we bought 5 single cask Bamors that were, at the time, 23 years old.
Wow.
Now, for all intents and purposes, they were casks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
They're still unbottled.
So this is the thing. You buy 23-year-old Bamor, I would love to say that I could hold on to 5 casks of it.
You needed to.
They're fucking expensive.
You needed to.
I was buying them at a reasonable price, even still.
We needed to pay for Ian's private jets and everything.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the problem.
Ian's got a big...
He's going to get it again, isn't he?
He's got a big
12
twirl. He's got a big twirl habit. So yeah, exactly. So
I like it, Stevie.
So this is it. So unfortunately,
Private
I
jets.
wasn't in a position where I could hold on to more than one of them.
I see. Yeah. Makes sense. Need to.
Now these are 5 casks, all refill bourbon hogsheads, all distilled on the same date. They weren't exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They were 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, whatever. It was a little bit spread out, but it was of the same run, same day, same liquid, same cask.
Nice packet of
5 Bamors,
Wow.
1997. There you go, bosh. And I paid for them, and I was like, I need to fucking move on these now. I need to sell 4 of these, and I need to bottle one quickly. And I am somebody who's always looking for other people's opinions. So I met up with Stevie at the time, and even though Stevie's only marginally, but a little bit behind me in his whiskey journey, I wanted his opinion. I wanted my mum's opinion, who's not a whiskey drinker, but she was, trained chef.
Because you
got a
wanted
great
to hold
palate.
back.
I wanted to understand what different people's opinions were.
Yeah, but to understand which cask you needed to
hold on to. And so I speak to all sorts
obvious
of people,
reasons.
like I say, Stevie,
Canvass
someone like my
all your
mum who's
friends
got
and family.
No sort of insight
Yep.
into whiskey, but I
Yep.
equally have a selection of people who are far beyond my experience within whiskey. Serious professionals that have been in the industry for a long time, and I go to them with these casks and I get their opinion. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have time to send off samples and wait for a response from these people.
Yep.
So I had 5 casks that were burning a hole in my wallet, over £250,000 to put it into perspective. Okay, a lot of fucking money on the line.
Jeez,
and I needed to pick which was the best. And it's not an easy selection. And what I did was I tried them on 3 separate occasions. And normally I try them with a fresh palate in the morning. I tried them 2 mornings, sort of 10, 11 a.m. And then I tried them 1 afternoon. Each time I hadn't eaten anything for the day. You have 3 different moods, 3 different mindsets, 3 different days.
Palate's getting tighter and tighter and tighter.
Do you know what I mean? So this is it. So you want to try it with a fresh palate, but I was just trying it at different points, and I made my decision. And I'm very lucky that every single person, I sent off the samples to the professionals. I couldn't wait for a response. I picked one, I sold the 4, and I went, please God, don't tell me I picked the worst one. That was all I wanted. Just don't tell me I picked the worst one. And everyone came back to me. I have 5 people, serious professionals, like I say. They all came back to me and said, bottle this one. And it was the one I chose. And thank fucking God. But
1 in 5.
1 in 5, you know, I had a 20% chance. It was unlucky. It was
20% chance. Yeah.
What's the point here, mate?
So my point being, and going back to what you just said, trying these drams all in one, they are very similar. And you can get palate fatigue and you go through these things. But for somebody like you bought this wonderful lineup, and thank you again for sharing it.
It's a bit heavy though, isn't it?
But it's wonderful. It's wonderfully heavy.
Yeah, so
a sort of thing that you can go back to. And again, as all of us have, a lot of people, we went to these wonderful tastings last night and people were boshing off the drams before the presenter. You know, we had, it was Felicity White, the Macallan brand ambassador, who were talking through these amazing, 30 years in cask. And people couldn't wait 5 fucking minutes to just wait until she got to them.
And there was one idiot saying he prefers the 10-year-old Glendronach over the 30-year-old Macallan.
Yeah, but this me. But that's fine. You're overdue. But the problem being is like, let's take a fucking minute to just let these whiskies breathe. We don't need to knock them back.
No, we don't.
Let's enjoy ourselves.
Yep.
And I think that it's the sort of thing, Stevie, to your point, it's like, give it a minute. Give it a second to open up. As we've let these drams breathe, we're not going to be able to come back to them in 3 days' time or whatever.
Yes.
But it allows you to really appreciate what's going on within each dram, as opposed to just knocking it back in excitement.
But for sure. And sorry, guy, just to interject here. Go on. I mean, no disrespect by saying I'm getting a bit of fatigue of the sherry, given that you've chosen this lineup and you bought these wonderful bottles. So please don't take offence, because I don't mean it like that. I
wouldn't take offence at all.
I'm just saying from where I am in my journey and confidence of tasting whiskey, it's challenging now going through these to really pick out differences. Because
I agree.
Yeah.
I do.
However, if you look at my lineup on the table, and I know people get something, I've bought the ones forward that I really like, and we can talk about that at the end. So there is obviously
some differences that you're picking out.
Correct. Yes, things that are standing out.
For
so
sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know exactly what you mean, Steve. I mean, back to Jake's point, even been in Campbelltown recently, when you're smashing through a tasting in a room, some of the drams in front of you really want to leave them for probably 25, maybe minutes
at least,
and just come back to them and go and have a glass of water, a pint of Guinness or whatever, and refresh your palate. It's tiring them up on your palate, isn't it? It is. It's hard work.
Yeah, it's a very intense liquid, right?
And what it does is it gives you such an appreciation, and I'm going to name drop again, and this time it is Billy. Because
he's done it again.
I've done it again. There we go.
We need some sort of like...
Steve, you haven't even met him once.
What's the sound effect in...
I'm just kidding you, fella.
What's the show that was hosted by Stephen Fry, the question show? And if you said the obvious answer, they had that...
Oh yeah,
was it?
I don't know.
What's it called, Stevie?
People will let us know in the comments. We need one of those buttons, mate. When you say Billy,
fine, I'll take it. Sorry,
Jake.
Yeah, no. But he was talking. We were there, and he was just done the cask strength, the batch 12, the 10-year-old.
Right.
160 casks.
I don't
put together there.
Can I just say, gentlemen?
It's amazing that, and obviously he's not going drink, gulp, and swallow. He's spitting and he's trying.
I get it.
But but that's where like people don't understand the level of like professionalism that comes into sampling these whiskeys. We were talking last night at that tasting event, Maureen Robinson, who had put these whiskeys together, and Jim Beveridge, who had blended those 40 and 48-year-old Johnny Walkers. The amount of knowledge and like ultimately the palate that they have on them, because to not get fatigued through trying these whiskeys, to be able to select these things.
I don't know how they do it.
It's phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. And I agree with you, Stevie. I'm working my way through these, and I'm enjoying them. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm in the same place as you, but I 100% appreciate what you're saying.
I'm not shy to admit.
No, listen.
Like,
It's nothing.
It's just
honesty.
I agree,
it's honesty, man. It's important.
Yeah,
I get
As I say,
100% where you're at.
I'm the same. I'm the same. But when you read what the likes of Billy and Rachel Barry do when they go and sample, or hundreds of different distillery managers or master blenders, and they taste hundreds of casks. I don't know how they do. Obviously, Jay, you make a good point. They're not drinking it all; they're just tasting it.
Yeah,
but palate fatigue is really, for me. I spoke to someone the week before last in Scotland, and he walked into warehouse and he went, "My palate's shot. I've had to go and my palate's shot." And he's a mature. He's been drinking whiskey for years, so it's a real thing, isn't it?
100%.
So Stevie makes a really good point, especially with this heavy sherry. And on that note, you need to try this one.
Yeah, here's another one. No, but I get what you mean, Stevie. Picking out the differences can start to become difficult. You're still enjoying them all, right?
Yeah.
But it's here for the people. For Jan, you're always the one who comes up with the best tasting notes, and it becomes difficult after a few of a similar style whiskey. We always say great way to try a whiskey is with one in each hand. And like you said at the beginning, if you've got a Glenlivet in one hand and a Port Charlotte in another, you can pick out those differences all day long. But when you've got a hand-filled Glendronach from 2005 that's 12 years old in Oloroso, and a hand-filled Glendronach from 2011, it's,
sherry's also just such a very overwhelming flavour as well, right? It's not like we're going through 6-7 different kind of bourbons here, and sherry.
It gives you an appreciation for people who do wine tastings, because sherry wine is similar. It's kind of quite a tannic, quite a drying, quite a it's from a palate fatigue point of view, as we're saying, it can become more overwhelming more quickly.
However, I'm having a lot of fun here.
This is good crack, right?
It's
this
a
is
great crack,
lineup, man. And I have to say, those two last hand-filled drams continue to open up. As I said, they both have the style of an older whiskey. That kind of the woody. I'm not saying it in a negative way. Some people would say it's overly wooded. It's not, but it's chewy.
I know what you mean.
It's also got this kind of almost like a sooty element.
Gents,
and I think more so to the first one.
We would never do this normally, would we? We wouldn't normally have 5 or 6 or 7. Well, not necessarily.
Certainly not a Monday.
Or a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It's just possibly too much sherry. But that's what I'm here for.
In all the best ways.
That's what I'm here for.
In all the fucking best ways,
This is why we're having the crash.
This is literally what you're here for. Yeah.
Exactly.
No. And thank you for coming again.
We could have mixed it up, but
No.
I would have it no way different. So talk to me. What is this one that we've got here? This is one of the single cask. Or sorry, this is the cask bottling.
No, because our palate's a little bit fatigued. Maybe we need some food and a pint of Guinness or 2 later, which would be great. Mm-hmm. I'm possibly jumping on. excuse me, jumping forward to what might be my favourite of the lineup.
Okay.
Not the 93, a 92 single cask. So a bit of a story with this one.
Wow.
Have you tried it? It's really good, isn't it?
My palate's not that fucking fatigued. I can taste how good that is.
When you were just talking about the last one, I was swallowing this one. I was thinking, just wait.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting.
Literally,
that's an interesting response, because none of this is rehearsed shit. This is like, I'm just interested in your...
This is Uncut Unfiltered.
Exactly.
Welcome. Don't forget to subscribe.
That's why I
You've
love
been watching. You know how it fucking works now, guy. It's no bullshit here.
Yeah. So, I love this bottle. So when I was on my hoarding crusade, trying to find all the single casks, etc., back in, this was probably 2015, 14, 15, 16. I bought certain casks that I couldn't find in the UK or anywhere else from Denmark. And I think the importer's name at the time was Lars Gregerson. He's retired now, I believe. And he actually contacted me and said, "Guy, I've got a case of Revival here, the old original Revival. Do you want this?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I do." In batch one, that was first released in Billy's days in 2009, there was cask 1140. So it was a 16-year-old 1992. And I think the 92 vintage just ticks so many boxes for me. However, when I spoke to Lars on the phone, he said, we've bottled a cask that I selected in the warehouses at Glendronach with Billy in 2009. And I think I've selected with him one of the first independent, for a retailer, or for a nation, single casks. So this cask was a sister cask to what was in Billy's first batch release in 2009.
Sorry, 1992. So this is what, 17 years old?
This is only 16 years old.
No.
Right? So exactly. So
you're lying.
So
this is beyond its years.
Exactly. So when Lars said, and I said to Billy, can I bottle one of these for the Danish market? This is the story that Lars relayed to me, by the way. This is not first-hand information. I'm sure Billy may or may not be able to authenticate,
Jake, give him a
this.
text, mate.
Hold on. I'll get him on the phone. If only, right?
So have either of you tried 1992 cask 401, first of all?
No.
It's a
not that it stands out to me.
Okay.
I may have been lucky enough to have been past one.
It's an unbelievable cask that was bottled for an outlet in Scotland that they had to get the cask back because they didn't pay the bill, etc., etc. Anyway, so that was a 17-year-old. So Lars said to me, I said to Billy, can I bottle this? I was in the warehouse with him and we selected this for the Danish market, 16 years old, 1992. Obviously the first batch of these awesome Oloroso sherry butts that Billy and all the rest of the guys and girls back then had got their hands on. So I bought a couple of these as well. Mm-hmm. So I brought one today. So to me, for 16 years old, I don't think it gets much better when it's 27, 28, 29, 30 years old. This is one of the first bottles that I bought, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I've got two of them left, so I wanted to bring one because this kind of, it sounds a little bit, dare I say, whiskey snobbery.
Go on.
But it kind of knocks.
You're sitting in Posh Scotch's seat, so give it to us.
Some of the hand fills that it's only about 4 or 5, 6 years difference, 4 years difference. Sorry.
Right.
This is Glendronach heaven.
Right.
Oloroso,
leaps and bounds head, you reckon?
The integration is seamless in here.
Well, that's Stevie. I think you've got a good nose. It's just quite beautiful, isn't it?
Stitches in perfectly.
And the longer, and the first bottle I opened, it was when it got down to about, I know the oxidisation thing's been discussed over and over again with sherry bombs, right? But when this has had about 50% of it gone, and I just leave it on the shelf and you go back to it, I actually contacted one of my friends in Denmark at the time and I said, this is so good. And he was like, it's okay, but... And he went back to it and he contacted me 6 months later and he went, this is so fucking good. And it's 16 years old.
Aye.
But this was bottled in July 2009.
Right.
So you probably won't find the single casks from Billy's era that were bottled prior to that, because this is obviously when he first started releasing casks from the barrels.
For sure.
So this, it's like a kind of a... It just...
Sorry, guy, what's the percentage on this? Remind me. I don't know if you said.
Good. I didn't actually, Stevie, did I? Have a look. I can't remember. Put my glass on. You read it.
Where are we at?
Cask 1135.
Oh, it's quite hard to read, and I don't need glasses. 57.3. Okay, so it's up
right
there.
up there again, isn't it?
Yeah. But
it's beautifully integrated.
You don't get that.
No nose prickle at all.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting quite an interesting note of charcoal. I'm getting a wealth of other things.
Okay.
I'm getting cinnamon.
That's really interesting you said that.
Spices, but I'm getting this charcoal element that I don't think I've ever
so glad you've said that, Jake.
Talk to me.
Right. So, being a geeky Glendronach geek, like we are, some of the early 90s batches, they were still using a small amount of peat on their direct fired stills.
Interesting.
Did you know that?
I didn't.
If you look back at it, I mean, I can't find any real evidence off the stills, but apparently there was a small amount of peat in the 1990s, maybe 91, 92. And the stills were definitely direct fired then. But then they would have been for 1993 and 94 and 95 and 96 prior to the closure.
Right.
I just think this is phenomenal.
It really is.
It's so good. And it gets better as the bottle goes down. So we need to perhaps we need to keep this and we need to revisit
keep drinking that for the rest
now,
of
what
the
we need
evening.
to do, we probably need to get some food this evening and revisit it another time. But just skipping the 93, and I just wanted you, because our palate's a little bit fatigued.
It's beautiful.
It's really good, isn't it?
It's sensational. It really, really is. Yeah, I like I say, the cinnamon side of things as well. But some beautiful oak spice. And
that, to me, is the epitome of what
Glendronach.
Oloroso, maturation, left. To me, and that's why I brought this, and we're all... I mean, my palate's getting really tired as well now. But the 26-year-old 93 I've got, this is as good as that, the 26-year-old, in my opinion. We've not tried that yet, because I just wanted to let you try this first, because our palates are tired.
92. What were you doing in 92, mate?
Well, you were 3 years old.
Correct.
You were watching the podcast.
He wasn't even born. No, I mean, Stevie was looking for 1989 Glendronach.
Yeah,
so I know he's...
I wasn't even born. I'm a young buck.
Yeah.
And I do bid on quite a few, but just out.
Well, Stevie...
I will, though.
I was a mistake waiting
if you want an
89,
Stevie, if you really want an 89, I can sort that out.
That's very kind of you, Guy. I mean, listen, I will push that out eventually, but that would be great. And the 89s, have you had many of those? Just out of interest?
I have some in the collection, but I've not. The ones I've tried have been, I wouldn't say underwhelming, but there's something about the 89s that doesn't really click.
Have you tried the Kingsman?
Yes, I tried both of them.
What do you reckon of the 89? Because we both got bottles and neither of us have tried. Well, you haven't. If you've tried that,
I think they're fantastic.
Go on, mate.
No, but I mean, like, I know you still got your bottle, but if you've tried it elsewhere, you haven't, have you?
No, I haven't. No. It's a shame they didn't come with
miniatures.
But,
I know.
yeah.
What? So tell us.
Am I right in saying, gents, that the 89, they've released two of them, the two Kingsmans.
Two Kingsmans.
An 89 and a 91. The 89 is the second one, which I think is actually better than the 91.
Right.
To my palate.
I've heard that.
But obviously Rachel's done her magic and she's vatted, whatever you want to call it,
Aye.
2 or 3 casks together. Do we know? I can't remember the outturn.
Yes.
But very, very, very good.
Looking here as if I've got them here, they're at home wrapped up carefully. No.
Very, very good.
If we had them here, they'd be fucking open in an instant, wouldn't they?
But they're probably not
point,
the scene.
yeah.
It'd be a bit pointless, perhaps, with all our palates are a bit tired.
No,
but,
for sure. It's something quite special.
But there's something about this, Stevie. Something about this.
Absolutely. No, I get it. Especially going from the
younger
there,
hand fills.
You know, because they are
younger
quite.
hand fills, yeah.
You know, overwhelming isn't the word.
They're very samey, aren't they?
Well, there is a difference, but I know what you mean. But they level up from obviously the 810 and the cask strength we've had. You know, there is a punch there. This is like that, but mellowed down. And so, is this the oldest one here?
No,
no.
This is the oldest one. But I've brought you this one first because our palates.
There's still a dram to go.
Unfortunately,
no.
We're on to. Unfortunately,
no.
He's far too polite. This is Uncut Unfiltered.
I like being polite.
This. Yeah. We normally film 3 of these in a day. But yeah, no. This is different.
It is, isn't it?
It's different to everything
Yes,
I've had so far.
Oh.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm going back to the 2 handfills now, and I'm just comparing and contrasting. I want to save a little bit of this 16-year-old so that I can compare it against the. Oh Jesus. Compare it against the last one, and thank you very much, sir. Speak and you shall receive. No, and the 2 handfills are they're beautiful, and they're very drying. now that they've opened
Still
up that bit
relatively young sherry bombs, though. In Glendronach terms.
100%.
Still relatively young.
But what the 16 has is just this wealth of, I mean, we talk about, and we go back to the 10-year-old, which is a beautifully round whiskey, but obviously watered down. As a cask strength, untouched, unadulterated whiskey, finding something that is truly well-rounded, that has impact on all fronts, that can kind of assault and encompass all flavors and your palate in such a wonderful way that makes you just like mesmerized. That 16 really is a level up.
It's really good.
It's seldom any Glendronachs I've tried that are better than that. And I'm trying now actually just to think, because I only had the tiniest little fucking drop of that 30-year-old last night. We didn't get it on camera. We 100,000 pounds worth of whiskey last night. And,
Such a blur.
Huh?
I'm sure it is, guys.
Such a blur last
it was.
night.
Plus,
we were. How many drams did you do last night, you reckon? Including Collins?
Couple.
A few.
a couple of dozen.
A few.
Yeah, probably over 20.
So
we didn't even film all of them.
No.
But that's the thing. So that 30-year-old Glendronach was off camera.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
actually said, just a fucking the touch of it that I wanted to have just to see where we were at. I think this is better. It goes to show age isn't everything.
No, it isn't.
It isn't. And not that the one last night was bad, but that is exceptional.
I know.
It's really fucking phenomenal. And that's what you get from limited edition Glendronachs, guys. Let us know in the comments what's the last limited edition that you have tried. Have you tried any of these? We're moving on to our last one here, which is 26, you say, a 1990.
Yes. This is the 93 that was released for the Whiskey Shop.
Cool.
It was bottled in 2019, but I'm sure it didn't hit the shops until 2020. And this is cask number 7434. And this is bottled at 54.2. This is also a brilliant example of a 1993, in my opinion. Although it's been bottled in the latter years rather than the 2014, 15, 16, 17. Mm-hmm. We perhaps could do another episode on Taiwanese releases as well, because some of the Taiwanese releases are phenomenal. However, this is the oldest at 26. Now, I know Ian's tried this and he thought it was phenomenal. Personally, the power of suggestion and all that, I think the 92 is better, but that's why it appears in the lineup, because it's nearly a 10-year different age statement.
For sure.
To kind of twist your mind and,
This is juicier than I was expecting.
The 93.
93. It's juicier than I was expecting. It's actually a lot more vibrant.
It's got a bit more leather, a bit more. It's
at the back end.
It's so subtle, the differences, but it's really difficult to pick up now for me. I'm
for sure
too much now, really.
But the juice I get right on the front there, loads of juice, considering it's 26 years old.
That's mad, isn't it?
Surprising.
But at the end
really
there,
good.
you can tell there's a vintage here.
The blackberries, the black currants pop in your mouth to begin with. It's very silky. Not interestingly, not as oily, I would say, as the previous.
I agree.
But you're right. Towards the back end, it gets more leathery, and you're right.
That wood spice really comes through,
vintage-
but it would do at 26 years old, right?
But it's not as present as you would think on the forefront. It's a bit more of a. I don't want to say more of a journey. Actually, that's maybe a bad way of saying it, because that, like I said, that last one is kind of all-encompassing. But everything happens at once in that last one. It's kind of, like I say, an assault. Oh God!
Would you?
There it is. I'm assaulting the mic now. 7 drams in, it still is an assault on your palate.
It is,
and it's everything all at once. This is a bit more of a journey. It's kind of really juicy, and then tones down into a leathery, like you say, vintage vibe. There's a bit more of a journey of change, if you see what I mean.
And it lingers for a long time.
It does linger. I think the previous one
the nose is
Oh,
quite
that's still
beautiful.
there. You reckon it's that's still there?
To be honest, yes. That last one, I think, is lasting on my palate longer than...
It's interesting, you see, gentlemen, because
Yeah.
I think the 92 has got it's woven its magic over you. It's just...
This is
See,
phenomenal.
this
but
is the
it's just
vintage that everyone goes mad for.
Right.
isn't it? The
93. Everywhere. You're
They do.
absolutely right. Everyone talks
the-
about 93. I mean, unless you're talking back in the sort of 70s.
Exactly. Admit the 71s and 72s.
Yeah, 71,
The
72,
93 is-
73. But yeah, the 93s, for some reason.
I'm sure there's plenty.
Why?
Good question. Why? Because
Consistently, they've
Because
been great.
Glendronach geeks all over the world, like Guy and myself, have gotten together and battled it out.
This is the year.
And someone has been able to make their reason more prominent
This
than
is
any
the
other
year,
reason.
yeah.
But this is the fucking, no, you're wrong. And this is why. And they probably just have a bigger Glendronach collection. You know, they've probably had a chance to try more. But
For sure.
93 from the kind of the more recent years, and I mean, we're still talking 30 fucking 1 years ago. So it's arguably not that recent. But for some reason, the 93 vintage is the vintage
Is
in
the one.
modern Glendronach that stands out
It does.
above and beyond all of the rest.
But it seems that a lot of aficionados love the 92 offerings. But it's the power of suggestion, isn't it? I mean, if we had this in a blind tasting, okay, if we'd done this in a blind tasting tonight,
I think the 92 would be
I
something that I would think was the oldest.
our palates probably align. That's how I feel about it, which is why I brought it as a comparison.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't know what year it was, and we didn't know when it was bottled, it just
I
feels.
still say they're both fucking 20 plus, really delicious.
They're both brilliant.
Yeah.
But there's something about that particular cask that makes me. It feels like it's an older cask to
Sorry,
me.
where are we percentage wise on this one?
50.
Is it still?
What's this one?
Is it up there still?
54.2.
54.2.
I think 54.2.
The more I sup on it, the more the back end is just like it's a little. The wood spices are just a bit too much for me. Now I don't know if that's because
You
know,
prefer this
we've
one,
had
Stevie, don't
seven
you?
sherries.
Stevie's
for
picks.
it.
Stevie's picks.
I think you know. Yep. That 10.
The first time I've
do
drank with
think
you, but I
about
think them two for Stevie. But anyway, we'll.
I mean, the 26 is it's. Listen, it's spent 26 years in cask. You know, that's a long
mad,
time.
isn't it?
That doesn't
nearly
mean
as old
that,
as him.
like it's gonna.
That's mad.
That's gonna.
And twice as old as me.
You know, it doesn't mean that it. You know, the older it gets,
Yes.
the better it gets. Right.
Of course.
You know, it is a long time
It's
the
more
wood
vibrant than
there
I
for
thought.
me-
It's more vibrant than I thought.
on the front, but at the back.
It's overtaking?
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yep.
I don't get that. The vibrancy on the forefront really
Yeah.
lasts. There is that vintage style feel
It's
towards the
overtaken.
end.
That's an interesting one, Stevie.
I get the vintage thing. I get the wood tannins but it's beautifully balanced. It's a delicious whiskey. It's phenomenal. I just think that the 92 is so far beyond its years, and it's that charcoal thing, and I've just been sniffing on it again. It's that charcoal element. I don't think I've ever got charcoal from a Glendronach before.
I'm really interested that you've discovered that note.
Yeah. It's really bizarre. And this is the thing. They've all got that classic, we're talking about
this-
tasting notes here. And for Jan in particular, if you're watching Jan, shout out. I'll give you, the standard things of Glendronach, the marzipan, the raisins, the rich dates and plums and
the
figs
classic
and
sherry cake notes.
all of that. But these ones,
Something extra.
The juiciness of this one, the 93, for the 26 years in cask is just phenomenal. And the depth of flavour on that last one, the drying charcoal, given that it's, only 16. It's still a good fucking 16 years in cask. But it's the cask selection there that really just makes this one sing.
But Jake, the thing you mentioned that's really interesting is that touch of, what did you call charcoal?
Charcoal for me.
Is it that early 90s touch of peat? Is it the direct fired stills? We don't know. But there's an extra bit of depth. There's an extra depth to the flavour that I'm picking up.
I wouldn't have picked it out as peat. It's interesting that you say that, and I didn't know that, and it's...
I might be wrong.
Although, sorry, actually thinking about it, because they have their peated expression, and that's paying homage. I thought it was...
That's a modern expression, though.
It's a modern expression, but
Yeah.
it's paying homage to the way they did things.
Apparently so.
But
yeah.
I thought that was
But it was a time.
before the 90s.
I need to research this again because there's I think it's on the whiskey.com website. There's a the peated levels back in the early 90s.
I didn't realise it was still in the 90s. Yeah.
It only,
So there you go.
but I don't know when they stopped doing it. Was it 90, 91, 92? I don't know whether it started happening in 93. But there's some real depth to that for a relatively young single cask compared to all these older expressions. It's superb.
It really is.
The 92 is quite superb. It's probably the standout for me, but
Yeah.
I'm probably a little bit prejudiced because I've tried them and I know what to expect. But I think this is a great comparison because it's so much older. They probably both need some more airtime as well, some more oxidisation.
Hey, listen, absolutely, and you'll enjoy them as they go. But that's the beauty of it. And as I said earlier, taking your time with a dram during a tasting, very important. But if you're lucky enough to be buying these sorts of bottles and have a collection like you do, Guy, coming back to them in days, weeks, months' time and seeing as they grow and age and bottle, aging and bottle is something that a lot of people argue about. I think there's definitely something to be said for that oxidization level. Certainly past the point of original crack.
Indeed.
And which is why, again, you're an absolute gem for having cracked these for us. But you cracked them a couple of weeks ago to give them that little bit of breathing time.
Yeah, I think they need a little bit more, personally.
For sure.
But
My God, do they fucking sing? I mean, Jesus.
So
wept.
I find it very difficult when trying sherry bombs, unpeated sherry bombs. So I've got this sort of self-classification in my mind, gents. Unpeated and peated sherry bombs. Mm-hmm. So, excluding your Isla and your Springbanks and all the rest of it. But for Highland whiskies and Speyside whiskies, I want to love other distilleries as much as I do Glendronach.
Right.
And there's some great alternatives, whether it's Tamdhu or Glengoyne or what have you. But there's something about Glendronach it's got the spirit. It's able to deal with the sherry,
Yeah, no, it is. It's such a round and robust liquid. There are few that can challenge it. But more than that,
opinion,
I think the
but
thing
I've got
is,
the palate of a goat.
I think the thing is, though, Guy, it does have a great liquid base. The new make, the cleric that comes out of this distillery is phenomenal. But the cask selection as well.
Oh,
Because putting it in sherry is one thing, but putting it in
right
sherry
casks.
casks of the highest
Yeah, I
quality
agree.
is a completely different thing.
See, that is another podcast in its own, isn't it? That's where, wouldn't it be great to have Billy here to know what casks he was putting this in?
For sure.
Because that was distilled before his time, but, was it re-racked? We don't know.
For sure.
Because they'd only...
I'm sure he's got it in a diary somewhere scribbled down.
They'd only recently purchased it. The Ben Reet Group had only recently purchased Glendronach in 2008. So was this one of his original finds? Is this the way it was left from Shivers days?
I would imagine so. But that's only just because of the way he's done Glenallachie.
It's a really good question, though, isn't it? Well, I don't know if it's a good question or not.
We'll never know. But it's a great
re-
thing to ponder, right?
Yeah, was it re-racked or was that the way he found it?
Yeah.
We're not going to never find out, are we, Stevie? Unless we ask the man himself.
For sure. Well, Jake, as I say, mate.
I've got the link up, mate. I've got the link up.
We haven't had a peated Glendronach. However, they do a peated.
Yeah, as we were saying,
expression,
peated
right?
are
Sorry.
kind of paying homage to their origins a
Yeah,
little
they
bit.
do that. Now, maybe an ignorant question to ask: do they release any just straight bourbon or ex-bourbon expressions?
I think that's something, unfortunately, that is coming. I don't know for sure.
Right.
I've heard whispers.
I know of a few Scotch Malt Whisky Society bottlings that were bourbon only.
Right, okay.
right.
To be honest,
Tonics.
I don't know enough about the Scotch Malt Whisky
Have you
Society.
tried them,
and they've
Guy?
got a great wealth of selection there. So
I've not been a member for years because I thought it was a little bit overpriced for what you got and the quality of the drams in recent years. But
okay.
maybe I want to edit that later on. I don't know.
This is Uncut Unfiltered, mate. You said it now.
Well,
Sorry, it's in
yeah.
there.
But sorry, Steve, I don't know.
Yeah, so you've had a couple of the bourbon.
I've not bought bottles. I've tried samples, and probably
There's
because
no sherry in it.
possibly because it was very spirity and bourbon orientated.
Interesting.
It just didn't tick the box for me.
Exactly. So my next question would be: it probably needs that sherry. Like it's the perfect
Correct.
marriage, right?
I reckon. I think you've
for
got a
the
very good
spirit.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, but that's why they've become world famous, haven't they? In terms of their sherried whiskey, because it works well with the spirit,
It's not
with
broke.
the length of their line arms
Yep.
and all the rest of it, or the angle of it's just great for sherried whiskey, isn't it? And a lot of the stuff a lot of the older stuff that we tried was produced with direct fired stills, so I think that makes a difference.
For sure. No, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's why it's in sherry all the time, right? Because it works so bloody well. Yeah.
I've gone back to the 10.
I know, right?
Just to see, now that we've gone into
This is
the
really
depths
interesting.
of Glendronach insanity, where a lot of people probably wouldn't have the wallet to go, or, certainly wouldn't be able to put up,
Your grandeur isn't in the box, is it? It's up.
The grandeur is somewhere
It's
here.
not in the box. It's just the box, I'm sure.
No.
Oh, it's in there. Oh, okay. Sorry.
This is not cracked. This is already open.
Oh, it's been open for a while. Sorry.
Now that Guy's gone to the bathroom, we might pour him a special trap. No, but sorry, I was just about to say, the 10-year-old for me, we have gone into the depths of Glendronach insanity. And if you guys have been lucky enough to try these whiskies, like I say, please do comment below. Let us know what you think and what your favourite has been. And if you've tried this 92, that's been a real interesting point for me today. But just winding it back, and I know that this is Glendronach limited editions. We will do a Glendronach main episode, and we'll try and get somebody from the distillery, from Brown-Forman. And if that's something you want to see, comment below. All caps, Glendronach, make it heard. You did it with Billy, we made it happen. You do it with Glendronach, we'll get you something fucking special going on. Maybe, I don't want to promise anything, maybe we'll get Rachel Barry. Comment Rachel Barry in all caps if that's what you want to see. I would love to do that. That would be a big dream come true for me, but it's only going to happen with your support. So please do get involved. But just winding it back to that 10-year-old, which is probably, the 10 and the 8 are the most in line with what you could consider kind of entry-level Glendronach and core range Glendronach. It has been watered down. It is at a kind of a lower age statement. The 10 here, the Luke Skywalker, as it's sort of dubbed by the geeks and freaks like us, is 48% an all PX, I think. I might be getting that wrong now, guys. We're a few drams deep, but it still stands out. And you talk about palate fatigue, and you're right, I completely appreciate where you're coming from, Stevie, but I can still taste the character of this as a standalone whiskey, and I think that there's something really interesting to be said for that. And equally, going back to the Octarine, which I was just nosing there a minute ago whilst yourself and Guy were chatting away, it is very different. And I think you're right. I think that, the reason that Glendronach works so well is because of the sherry influence that is there. But I think that what's wonderful about this Octarine is having that bourbon and sherry influence and a bit of a palate. And is it something that I want to see all the time? No, I love the fact that it's mainly sherry, but I love this as a point of difference. I was just going back to the Octarine there, Guy. And it's interesting. There's diversity there. The spirit is rich and robust, and it takes on a lot of different things. But there's a wealth of different flavors here in this limited edition lineup. And I think that there are very few distilleries that would be able to put out such quality across the board. We've gone from 8 years old to 26 years old. We've gone from bourbon and Oloroso to pure PX and pure Oloroso,
And it's all been delicious.
and it's all absolutely banging.
Yeah.
And it's all smashed your palates.
Yeah, and this is it. Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of similarities here. Choosing out the differences and the nuances. Maybe we haven't got all of the best notes. Let us know in the comments what you think if you have tried these, and give us the notes that we're missing. But I really do think that there are very few other distilleries that do what Glendronach does to the level that Glendronach does.
With sherry.
With sherry, but also to
Agreed.
the price point that Glendronach does. These aren't cheap whiskies, no. But whiskey shouldn't be cheap. This is, Scotch that has been masterfully crafted and then spent a minimum, even 8 years in cask is a lot. What were you doing 8 years ago? You know, what were you doing 8 years ago?
Equally, I'm sure we've all had 10, 15, 20-year-old whiskies that haven't tasted as good as that 8.
Do you know? And this is it.
You know?
The balance.
You think that's
between
Stevie?
all. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I could, yeah.
We tried some whiskies last night on camera. Off of camera, because we knew that they weren't going to be good enough to be on camera. And this is
testament.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's a really interesting discussion.
Yeah.
It's difficult to argue of another distillery that does sherry better.
Yeah.
Sorry, unpeated sherry better.
Yeah.
That's the demarcation line I try to measure by, you know.
I think value for money here, though. This is where this is where it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Shall we do a little bit of a roundup? I think we can pour a grandeur off camera. We'll enjoy that separately.
Sorry, I didn't mean to drag it out to pour one. I just wasn't
Give a
sure
fuck,
if it was
mate.
here. But,
no, it's definitely here, and we'll pour some. Don't be silly.
when in Rome.
Yeah, when in Rome, exactly.
Please continue. Go on.
Doesn't.
Gentlemen, just quickly going back to the 2 hand fills.
Go on,
Yes.
sorry, go on.
Yes.
Yeah, it's apparent to me.
Getting a bit funky now.
Yeah,
It's opening up.
Yeah, it's interesting, Steve.
The
Isn't
second
it?
of the 2 was my preference.
Yes, mine too. Mine too. The older release, not necessarily older in terms of vintage.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing we haven't talked about,
Go on, Stevie.
or maybe we have and I've missed it,
Go on.
is now these are mellowing out
Yep.
and the punchy fruits are dying down and all of that. For me, when I'm going back to these, especially on the nose, is the nuts.
Yeah,
You know,
nuttiness, for sure.
there's a really nice kind of like Brazil nut coming through and cashew. You know, there is a nuttiness.
Stevie, you're very
coming
good at
through.
your notes, I have to say.
I mean, no, I'm just.
No, you are.
being
Don't
true
pay
to
myself.
myself.
I'm not taking. I'm not taking.
Cashew
The,
nuts.
I'm not taking
I
the
would agree
piss.
with you.
I'm
Cashew
not
nuts.
taking the
I know
piss.
you're not taking the piss, mate. You know, I think tasting whiskey can be a very what's the word? You can feel quite judged in the beginning, right? And it was showing you think you have to say things, you know.
You have to say the right thing.
And even maybe you're, especially Guy, you've been in it for many years, especially when you're in company. And especially
That's
Got an average-
interesting.
got an average
Yeah,
palate.
That just goes to what you're saying. You can feel judged sometimes.
But my point is, especially when you're at a
shouldn't
point where
feel
you're at and
embarrassed
you're
for
in
thinking-
company that, you know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
No.
you feel like,
Should
oh,
never
maybe I
feel
should. Oh, I
embarrassed.
agree with that. But no, you got to true to yourself. My point is, anyway, back to the nut thing.
Sorry. Yep.
Is that leaving these,
Yep.
the fruit dissipates me, and on the nose especially, the nuts are coming through on pretty much all of them as well.
And is that a good thing?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You
Yeah.
know,
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Interesting,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's interesting
See, I
that the
don't
fruit
get that.
dissipates and then that show them their face to you. I don't get it as, but you're right. The what you said there, Brazil nuts, I don't know about as much.
yeah, creamy nut.
The
Yeah,
cashew nuts.
Another creamy nut.
But also,
it's a
a lot of
for
people
sure.
talk about macadamia nuts.
very, very creamy.
Is
nut.
that what you?
For sure,
yeah?
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Macadamia nut, I can attest to.
Yeah.
To be honest, I can't really think of many
you
times
haven't
I've tried Brazil nuts. So that's the thing. For me, I think cashew, yes. I think macadamia
There's definitely-
is a great
definitely a
shout.
nut-
If Ian
element
here was
to
here,
it.
there would be a
But the power suggestion.
nut pun somewhere.
Let's not do the nut puns.
no. Don't want to counsel you as well, Guy. He's a good guy.
It's okay. It's okay. My wife is. No, it's not gonna. My wife is dead root. No.
That might get you
We
cancelled.
won't do. We won't do Borat on camera. No, we won't do Borat.
But yeah, the nuts come through.
Stevie,
for
that's
me
a
as it
very good note,
dissipates,
and
you know?
I wouldn't automatically pick that up. It's just
You're
interesting.
absolutely right. You're absolutely
No,
right.
fair
The nuts
play.
do come through.
Fair play.
Yeah. Macadamia and cashew for me, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Look, let's do a little bit of a roundup.
Oh,
We
here
will
we go
continue
then.
this
Here we
session
go.
on, and this is the beautiful thing, guys. All of you at home, you're a beautiful audience. We met some of you last night. Thank you so much for saying hello. Actually, big shout out to Jerry. But also to Ange and to Jackie, I think it was. And I'm sorry if I'm getting your names wrong, but I met a lot of people last night. It was wonderful to meet you all, though, and really appreciate you saying hello. Guy has obviously been watching the podcast for whatever fucking reasons.
while.
I don't know. You're a madman, but you've been watching it for a
Very
minute now,
enjoyable,
and
actually.
it's wonderful to have you down here to get involved. Thank you so much again for bringing these wonderful whiskies.
You're
It
welcome.
really is a pleasure. Before we get on to the judging of them, it's always nice to just chat whiskies, share
It is.
whiskies, and
It
you've
is.
been
It's good
beyond
to chat.
generous this time round.
Good to chat.
So thank you all for being part of our community, and as we always try, we get you involved, and Guy is a perfect
Thank you very much.
And if you
representation of that
want
today.
Guy back again, everyone,
If you want Guy back again, you've got to comment.
We need 100 likes on this video.
At least 100 likes, yeah. 100 likes, we might get Guy back again.
we will
And next
fly him
time we'll
back.
treat him, exactly, and we might fly him down so he doesn't have to travel 200 miles in a
It's
car.
only 2 hours in the car.
You're
Do you know what I'm saying?
You're a good man. But listen, it's been an absolutely amazing afternoon, and it's phenomenal to think that we've started something where people will drive over 2 hours to fucking share their own amazing selection of whiskies, particularly when it's something as special as these limited edition Glendronach. So thank you so much. Now, though, as you well know, Guy, we're going to get to the end of the show, the roundup of the
The
episode.
nitty gritty of it.
The nitty gritty, the buys, the don't buys, the binnets, which if anyone does, I'm going to fight them. And the ooshes, which I think there might be a couple of ooshes in there.
Oh, yes.
Maybe.
But could there
stay
be
tuned.
a binnet, Stevie?
No,
Could there be a binnet?
There's no
See,
binnet.
If there's a binnet in there, he's fired.
Yeah.
Do you know what
I
mean?
need
He's
to
got-
be
he's
in an
out.
episode where there's a binnet.
If there's
Oh,
a binnet,
But it
this
won't
will
be
just-
today because they're
won't be today.
mine.
It
If
won't
there's
be
a
today.
binnet, this will just be in audio form going forward. There'll be no video.
Exactly. And I won't know how to upload the audio format, so hold tight.
Right, where
Right,
we
let's start at the beginning.
Yeah,
Come
it's
on
a
then.
very good place
Come
to
on then,
start.
Jake.
Glendronach,
Oh.
8-year-old, the Octarine. What are we saying price-wise for this? Because obviously it's sold
Let's have a look.
really a minute
Well,
ago.
see if Stevie can find some stuff online. However, I understand from my limited research that back in the day, so what was it, 2012, 2013, I think it was 30 to 35 euros. So it was about £30 a bottle.
I mean, that's...
And for £30 a bottle, if you want an introduction to Glendronach, obviously I'm biased, but it's a definite buy.
Yeah,
from
no,
my
I mean,
point
for
of
that
view.
price, it's a bit ridiculous. Have we got anywhere that sells it online at the moment, Stevie?
Yeah, go on, Stevie. You're good at this kind
like
of stuff.
a retail price. I mean, it wouldn't be retail, right?
Does it crop up on auction, Stevie?
Yeah, of course. I'm seeing like I don't know what the date was here because they do it by kind of
Auction numbers, yeah, on SWA,
lot
etc.
numbers. Actually, no, sorry. 2018, it went for 70 quid. So you could probably expect that to be double that now. I
Maybe,
reckon.
yeah, not yeah.
Well,
140
I'd hope
quid.
not. I'd hope not double it.
Prices are
Probably
changing.
more, probably more.
You'd
Prices
be
are dropping.
surprised. Yeah, there is buy in the market for 100
So if we-
quid. So yeah, it is going for
If we
double.
Google
yeah,
the Carrefour supermarket, whatever it was, but I think it was about €30. I think.
30 euros to up to 150 quid now, potentially. I mean, that's
But
a big jump.
you wouldn't buy it now, would you? Would you?
Well, you say that. I don't know. Where
Oh,
would
no,
you?
because how much is the 18 now? That's
170 ish.
so that's not far off. 150.
Yeah, but that's an 18-year-old
what I mean,
Oloroso vatting 46%.
That's what I mean. That's an 8-year-old. I mean, listen, age isn't a number, but there's a lot more going on. Not to say that there isn't stuff going on here. Whiskey auctioneer, 46 quid. Look, let's say 30. You've said 30 euros for the whole thing. Let's say
30 euros, man. That was a time gone
But that
by.
was-
I think that's unfair.
it's a di-
to
it's a
judge.
dis then, because
Let's
it's a
say
different-
70 quid because it's doubling it. And I think you're not going to be able to pick it up for 30 quid nowadays,
you
mate.
can't pick it up for 70
I think if you were lucky,
right now.
Yeah.
Go on, Stevie.
Whiskey base, and don't go by this because obviously they have the German markets and on there. And
Yeah, a European average or whatever it is, the highest
exactly,
ever.
150
highest ever
euros.
price they've taken.
There's one shop available selling it for 150 euros. It did go 6 years ago on Whiskey Hammer for 70 quid. So let's say 100. If you want to go on right nows rather than retail, we've got to do that for all of them.
That's difficult.
It is.
For 150.
What did you pay for this? Sorry. Do you remember?
30
Stevie?
euros.
Well, I didn't. They were probably between 30 and 40 and
Some
50
sausage
pounds. Pardon?
And some saucisson.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy it now for 140 and 50 euros or 50 pounds.
No, you put your money towards some of the
I'd put you towards.
single.
Well,
parts.
I wouldn't spend that
All right,
much
so
on that.
let's say then.
It's a really.
What would we all enjoyed this one? I think that's fair to
Did you
fucking
like
say.
it or didn't?
I fucking thoroughly enjoyed it.
Have you still got some in your glass, Joe?
I've still got a touch in the glass here.
Okay, there's plenty more.
So
here.
what would we pay for?
That's a good
because
question.
I think that's a good... But because people watching want to know what we're going to pay for it on auctions. I don't think that this is good enough to get an oosh. At 30 euros, I might give it an oosh, but you'd be fucking lucky to get it at 30
You'd never
euros.
find it for that price again.
So what price would we be happy to pay for this
That's
now?
a better way of rephrasing the
That's a bit more
question.
of an interesting question.
Or if someone was new to the market, you wouldn't steer them to that for 120 or 30 euros on an auction.
Yeah.
You
What's
wouldn't.
the next level
Because
up
for
the
that
super
price,
spike?
you could...
Core range 12 is...
Oh, that's a good question. Why is it about 50, 45, 50 pound a bottle
About
now?
that.
I think it's 45.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's use that as a benchmark then against the age. I know it's not
see-
everything, but let's use it as a benchmark.
Over to
Right
you
there.
two for that one,
Entry
first of
level.
all.
45 quid, yours.
Over to you.
This for 45 quid.
Well, I'm just saying, as a benchmark.
Okay.
If
To
you could
start
buy this for
somewhere.
£45,
All right, so Guy, if
Stevie,
you can buy this for £45, buy, don't buy, oosh or bin it.
definitely. For a £45 bracket, yes. For under £50, it's a definite buy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Stevie, at
I agree with
£45?
Guy. And interestingly enough, this is the one you said, bread and butter pudding.
Yeah.
The longer you leave it,
Better,
the cream comes through for me.
Right.
Cream over that bread and butter pudding. So if we're saying under 50 quid, strong buy.
Yeah. If it was under 50 quid, it's a fucking oosh, all right? It's absolute
But
oosh.
it's not though, is it?
But it's not under 50 quid. So that's why I don't think
We're
this
just
is
making
fair.
our own rules up here.
I don't think this is fair.
People are not going to like this.
Yeah,
I
but
know,
it's your
people aren't gonna
podcast,
like this.
Stevie. You can make the rules up.
Thank you, Guy.
You're the governor.
I don't get this here.
Exactly, mate.
At £45, this is definitely an oosh because it's Glendronach, but it's not. It's different. It's got the bourbon influence. It's wonderful. It's diverse. It's so interesting. I would not be spending anywhere near £150 on this. I think that
Jake,
a fair price to pay, where I would still buy it, is 70 to maybe £80 as a point of difference on my
People
shelf.
are going to go in on you on that.
That's fine.
You know?
That's absolutely fine. But you can't even fucking do that apparently anyway, can you? I think buying it at £70, buying it £75, £80 would be a stretch. But I think that it's a point of difference. If you're a Glendronach fanatic like myself, it's something that you would want to try so that you can see the difference. You can see a young age statement Glendronach singing from the glass. So for me, it's a very, very strong buy. And if I could buy it at £45,
You can't.
I'd be wrestling every motherfucker in the supermarket.
But you can't. But Jake makes a very good argument for if you could.
Yeah.
If
That's
you could.
That's his point, Stevie.
If I could, exactly.
If you could what?
No.
But he can't. So should we move on?
Getting too much control.
Should we move on to 10-year-old? Because we can
Moving
argue
on to
about
the Luke
we can
Skywalker.
we can argue about it all night.
I've
couldn't
just
we?
looked up the 10-year-old. Master and Malt are still selling a bottle, and you're gonna be fucking angry at this.
I'm not,
Go on.
Stevie. I'm not, because I've got a few bottles in reserve.
How much?
£499.
It's not. Are we talking about this now? Which
Fuck
cameras? Which camera?
let
Stevie,
me
is it on that camera there?
Your camera's that camera, yeah.
Okay, so that is
Okay.
the Luke Skywalker.
Here we go. Is that the Luke?
That's it.
Can you confirm?
100%,
To
Stevie.
my camera. Everyone
Yeah.
can see that at home.
It is
I'll
very
scroll down. Add to basket. What's the price there to add to basket underneath that?
$499.
Jake, confirm that.
Yeah.
But we've seen that.
That's obscene.
Jake, we've seen that with the Springbank 12 Burgundy at £800. Sorry, nothing to do with this podcast.
Yeah,
So
no,
Master
no,
of Malt's
It's all
like
to do with
doing
this
that.
podcast.
don't
That's
they?
obscene.
So anyway,
That's obscene.
Stevie's,
two left.
Stevie's
Better be quick.
but
You better rush.
but Stevie's point's a valid one. You wouldn't pay £500
Nah,
because you could go and buy a single
pounds.
cask.
You
That's MOM taking the PISS.
Yeah,
Okay, we get it.
that's
We get
absolutely
it.
fucking ridiculous.
But
So how do we do this?
interesting,
So-
Stevie, that they hold a few back, isn't it, for the market?
Yeah, I'm seeing here. Yeah, I mean, there's
Wow.
not many. They're up there, 450. What? I mean, listen, it's lovely.
It's delicious, but
Yeah.
£450. Or you can buy one of the single casks from
I
one of the
know,
newer
but
releases.
it's Master of Malt. It's Master of Malt. You
could
can't
buy
take
a
it seriously.
fucking 19, I don't know, an old banger for that and drive around. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I agree.
it's madness.
I agree.
All right, so
Can we come back down to earth with the pricing for
Where
this?
did you pay for it?
I bought these for about 70 euros, I think it was.
70
This is
euro.
2016, I think it was.
€70 now, baby.
In 2016, you paid that for it, yeah?
Easy.
I'm fairly certain. I think I've bought 1, 2, 3. I've got about 5 of these. 4 left.
What's all that
Well, I'll
about?
tell you
then,
what,
Gary?
get in touch with Master of Malt, mate. You've got a nice little...
Yeah.
Why would you ever sell these? Because they're so
I know,
good.
you're
Why?
right, you're right.
Share
That's
them
my
with your
question.
friends.
Can one of you two answer me why they're pricing that at 500?
What, Stevie? Why would they price?
Maybe
the spring-
somebody's had an aneurysm.
What? No, because there's some dumb schmuck from America that might pay that amount of money for it. In my humble opinion, why would they put up a Springbank 12 Burgundy for $7.99 recently
On
Master
Master of Malt.
Malt.
on Master of Malt?
Okay.
And a friend of mine,
Podcast. Fucking hell.
a friend of mine in one of a whiskey groups said, "I'm desperate for the 12 Burgundy." Blah blah blah. So I kindly sent him a screenshot of that, trying to be helpful. Obviously taking the piss.
He didn't buy it.
No, he didn't buy it.
Oh,
Thank God.
But they've won. But the point is, they're not worth that money, are they? That's for the people that have got to have it. That they perhaps have
in
more money.
fairness, I've
Have more
overpaid
money
for
than
that.
sense.
I have overpaid
Have
for
you?
that, but...
I have an idea.
We
why
need
it's
to
priced at
open
that.
one of those.
I know why it's priced at that.
Why?
Go on, Stevie.
Why do you think?
The Luke Skywalker
Correct.
thing.
And what did Master of Malt label it as?
What?
Oh, did they
have
say it?
Have they,
Luke
labelled it as
Skywalker
Luke?
Yeah.
Have
Luke,
they?
Luke Skywalker, yeah. Whiskey.
That's
Luke
interesting.
Skywalker whiskey, yeah.
That's interesting.
And I know that this became when I first, and it was only about 6 months ago that I kind of discovered these on the internet, let's say, and started, oh fuck, there's some Star Wars, and looked into all of that and
Yeah.
was messaging it in. There is a cult following that has dubbed it that, obviously. And I think they've jumped onto that, and that's what's hyped it up loads in the
Perhaps.
auctions. However, that Master of Malt, we like you, is taking the fucking piss.
Yeah, that is taking the piss.
It is.
That is taking the piss.
500 quid.
No, we love Master of Malt, and they've got some great offers on normally. That's obscene. That is actually obscene.
You spent that
499.
24 grand euro there.
Less than that.
Yeah. Anyway,
$4.99, Stevie.
it's two left. Only 2 left, mate.
Hurry up and buy now if you're a muggins.
Also,
Don't.
if you pay £6.29, you can get it delivered by tomorrow.
You got to pay for delivery? Fuck off.
I think so.
Jesus Christ.
So,
Okay, a good dram.
how are we doing this, then?
That's obscene. This is the thing. I don't know how we do this. I don't know how. You said you bought it for 70 quid.
Let's go on that.
I buy it for 70 quid
Let's
all
go on that
day.
because he's paid his hard-earned money for that, and it's gone through checkout.
I
Whatever.
just finished that dram there. It's a beautiful whiskey at £70.
It's one of my favourites.
I'm buying it
I
today.
think it's one of Stevie's.
All day long.
It's nearly an oosh. I'm looking at your face, Stevie.
Yeah. Are you trying to persuade me?
No, no, it's
70 quid.
I'm
I'm
just saying it's an ooze.
I'm just getting into the groove now.
£1,000 tomorrow. Mate,
Stevie seriously affects the buying. Yeah.
Yeah.
The buying
There's
pattern.
an algorithm linked to Stevie's bio. Whatever.
actually work for Massimo, but
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't know that, Stevie.
right.
You wouldn't pay £500 for that. No way.
No, I'd have to hit my
I
head
wouldn't
pretty
pay
fucking hard.
£500 for much, unless
Yeah.
it's crazy.
But
Do you know what I mean?
when I bought them, Stevie, they were a no-brainer at the price.
Yeah,
absolutely.
£70. Jesus.
So good.
Okay, so £70.
Let's go on
obviously
that.
a buy.
Obviously a buy. Obviously a buy.
£70. It's an oosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair fucking play.
It's delicious. It stands out obviously from the 8 and the cask strength. It beats for me. No spoiler, but it's lovely. This is something I could pour every night.
Yeah.
Sip. Don't want to think about something. Just enjoy.
Yeah, I
what's
agree.
going on.
It's the best of the younger Star Wars series by a long margin. In my
Well,
opinion.
if that's 500 quid, I don't know what the fucking 25-year-old is or whatever it is like. The Mace.
the Mace window.
For
fuck
me,
yourselves.
as a 10-year-old, seriously strong buys. It's verging on an oosh at £70, but I just can't warrant because again, it's the same as the first one. You can't buy it for €30. You can't buy it for 70 quid. I wish you could. I'd be loading my trolley up, and good man yourself for doing exactly that when the time was
gotta be
right,
done.
guy.
It's got to be done, Joe.
Exactly, it has got to be done. And thank you so much for sharing it, because like I say, I think I've had a dribble of that before, but to be honest, I don't remember it. And after today now, I've got a really wonderful little imprint of exactly what that tastes like in my mind. So beautiful, beautiful whiskey.
We need to sample it up before I go.
Cask strength, batch number 3.
Right.
Where were
Stevie.
these? Where were these at?
I'm interested in Stevie's opinion. Right.
Price-wise now, I think you're looking at between 200
Well,
and 250 pounds.
Let's just be honest here, because we know this is a 2013 bottling.
Right, 2013,
When
yeah.
I looked at the rear label. So this was just before I discovered Glendronach, so I bought it retrospectively anyway. I can't remember what I paid for them. But they
Let me have a look. What batch is this, sorry?
This is batch 3, Stevie.
Batch 3.
And I think
they went for about 60 quid, 50,
yeah,
60 quid.
I think Jake's right. I think Jake and I were speaking about this recently, weren't we? That these were fetching silly price on auction now. What, 250 to 260, 270?
Yeah, I haven't seen them for
I
less
think
than
at the
200.
time, Stevie, because it was a batch strength, it wasn't a perceived one of the more expensive
Right.
releases. I don't know. I've bought 2. I bought 5 of them. And this is my 3rd one I've opened, so I've got a couple left, I think. I don't know.
I'm seeing
They're probably
out of stock here
Jake's
on-
probably right. 50, 60 pound a bottle.
You're
maybe
right,
70.
you're right.
RRP.
You are
At
right.
RRP.
AbbeyWhiskey.com, out of stock, so who knows when it went out of stock. £54.50, okay?
For sure.
Yes, so Jake's right. About
Let's
50,
go on
60
that.
quid.
It's going for 350 upwards.
350. I was
that-
thinking
that's-
200, 250.
Stevie, that's ridiculous, frankly, isn't it? You're just paying for the Glendronach thing there, right?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, yeah. I'm just having a look.
It's
here.
really good, but it's not worth 350 quid. No way.
So, Whiskey Base
I'm back on it now.
have anything between...
It's
you
really
can get
good,
it
isn't
from 179
We need to dram this up, sample this up.
225. It has gone on auction for 350 plus.
350.
So, it is quite a mixed bag. You know, how long has this been out for, though?
It's 11 years old this October.
Right, okay. So,
I think that was the one that October 2013.
which
So
is
it's-
why there's the variation of prices. But I believe, let's say £55 at retail, and let's stick to that because that's what you probably paid for it.
55 to 60 pound, I'd say. Yeah,
Let's go on that then.
that is so cheap nowadays, isn't it?
Go on then, 55 quid, guy. Where are
Would
we?
I buy it again? Of course I'd
I
buy
don't know.
it.
Would you, mate?
I'd buy a case of them.
Okay. Strong buys?
It's a very strong buy. Probably not an oosh, but it's a very strong buy.
Okay.
Very strong buy.
Okay. Stevie, 55.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Because it's not
Because
55 quid.
Because it's peanuts. So
It's
how
ridiculous.
do we do a fair assessment
It's
then?
exactly. This doesn't feel
It's
like
so
a fair assessment.
It's
on
so
any of them.
difficult to be fair, isn't it?
Don't think... Yeah, no, absolutely. Because they're obviously bottles of the past in
Yeah.
a way. Like, there's
much
so
just-
many different prices here from...
I tell you what, let's do
50
the
up to-
roundup on the retail.
Hang
At
on.
the end, let's do a secondary roundup
favourite.
of what we would pay for each
Okay,
of them.
No.
good idea, Jake.
No,
Stevie,
that's-
just finish your point you were making, please.
It's happening. He said it was a good idea.
No, Stevie,
Happening.
just finish your point you were about to make. You were just summarising something. It was really interesting what you were saying.
In the sense that they've gone from 50 to 400
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my point. It's like, we can't really... Like,
How-
it's unfair to...
Yes.
say what's what.
How do we
But I
balance
think
that
what's
out?
fair is retail because that's what it started at, and that's what Guy paid for it.
Even,
I know that's
hang
what
on,
you can't
even
pay
though
for
I was
today.
buying them retrospectively because this was about 12 or 14 months before I discovered Glendronach, remember?
For sure.
Right.
But of course, there was an abundance. Well, it wasn't an abundance, but there was plenty of them
Still a lot
available
more
in the
on it than there was
marketplace.
now, yeah, for sure.
No, for sure.
How do you evaluate something like this? It's really difficult, isn't it?
I'd
buy loads of them at the original price.
Retail price.
And at
because that's what you
£55,
paid.
you're a...
Oh, it's a strong... But as he said, cases. I buy a case.
I'd buy a case of that.
Cool.
To find them now.
Easily.
I bought 5 anyway, and I've got 3 left.
I would probably buy a few cases. Yeah,
Would you,
of
Jack?
that. It's a strong buy, and exactly the same as you. I don't think it quite warrants an oosh. I've tried a lot of the cask strength batches. I haven't tried all of them, unfortunately. But
Mixed,
I'm really
Jake,
glad to have
mixed
this.
thoughts.
From sort of 7 onwards, it
Oh,
does change.
very mixed.
It does change.
Yeah, I agree.
They're all very good.
Yeah.
There are some similarities there. The reason I would have given the 8 an oosh, other than the fact that we're apparently saying you could buy it for €30, which if you can find it for €30, just send me everything that you can get. And
You can't.
I'll give you a commission on top of it.
It's a long time ago,
But
Jake.
the reason that I like
Let it
that,
go.
other
Let
than
it
the
go.
price, I know I'm trying.
Let it go.
I'm
Let it
trying-
go, man.
I'm
Let
trying
it
my
go.
best. I can't let it
It
go.
was in a long time ago.
But it's different. It's different from a flavour profile point of view for Glendronach, which is why, aside from price, that really does stand out for me as an oosh. the 10 and now the batch strength. No, the octarine is so different because of the bourbon influence. The 10 and the cask strength are really good. The 10 is kind of like a leveled up version of the 12.
Yeah.
And the cask strength is probably one of the better batches that I've tried. I don't think the flavour quite warrants an oosh, but it's fucking delicious.
It's right
if
up
I
there.
could buy it for £55, I would be buying, cases. At that price, definitely. So very, 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 very strong buys all around. If you're able to buy these at anywhere near retail, get in touch. Let us know what you've paid for them if you've bought any recently.
And send us a link so we can buy some more.
Exactly. Moving on to the hand fills. Where are the hand fills at? They're generally anywhere betwing 80 and 110. So
this is an interesting one because I think the recent 11-12-year-old was I'm sure there'll be loads of people like Sid from the States and all the rest of them, and even Ian might pull me up on this, but I think this was about 110, maybe 100, whereas of course this being bottled back in 2017 was 65. I think this was £65 a bottle.
Right.
Oh,
in fact, I got the Spirits Embassy up in Scotland to send me a case of them. I think it was about £65 a bottle.
well, let's start with the first one.
I say it in hushed tones because I need to check my maths.
Retail?
Check my...
110.
I think this is about 105, 110. And I think this is about 65 because, of course, this was released back in 2017.
Is that a whiskey shop special, did you say?
This is a whiskey shop special.
Sorry, okay.
This was just the people that helped ship them to me that went to the distillery and picked these up because I was so impressed with it. I got some...
You got some good friends.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do the first hand fill, £110. Both of these hand fills were 12-year-old, give or take, Oloroso casks. I'm just supping on the first one again. At £110, it's a strong buy for me. It's delicious whiskey. I really enjoyed the two of these, and it's interesting to do a heads up.
It is.
When they're so far apart vintage-wise.
Yes.
Delicious whiskey.
Hence why I wanted you to try them.
Really, really cool.
Similar vintage, but bottled, 7 years between them?
Yeah.
Ish. Yeah, about 6-7 years between them.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
A very strong buy for me at £110. Guy, obviously you bought this. Would you buy it again?
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
If that was the only option available, but...
You want another hand fill now because you've tried this one. Move on with your...
Move on to the next one.
For sure. But it's a great expression.
Touch spirity, but then at 62.3 it was always going to be.
Yeah.
But it's a great illustration, I suppose, of a modern Oloroso Glendronach hand-filled from the distillery was just currently available. That's now, presumably, I think that's run out now, that cask. But anyway.
For sure.
Would I? But yeah, of course.
Stevie?
I'd buy it, yeah. I bought it.
I'm in a tough position here, mate, because...
I don't think you'd buy that one, Stevie.
Well, I'm going against my word, right? Because I said, if I'm there...
Delicious.
Well, if I'm there, you better fucking pick up a bottle.
For sure.
And if I was, I'd have picked this up. And if I paid 110 for it, I would have been very happy with it. Would I buy another one for 110 over the next?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This is the thing. We've got a beautiful lineup of limited edition Glendronachs here, and all of a sudden the competition becomes that much more fierce.
And also, as all you know at home, I don't get paid that too much. So, I can't buy all of these.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
There was a plug in the last video.
I like that.
Get Stevie a better pay rise. Fucking hell.
What is that?
Let us know in the comments, guys. What do you reckon? We need
Someone commented, though. There was like, I've seen his Instagram.
Yeah, he doesn't need a pay rise.
Does he need a fucking pay rise?
I think that was Richard, and fucking dib Richard. Thank you
good
for
shout.
sticking up for me, man.
No, listen. It was lovely to try. It's fucking delicious. And if I picked this up for 110, I wouldn't be disappointed. I'd drink the whole thing. I'd share it. And I'm sure the longer it's left open, the more you get into it, the more you find in it. But because you did pour these two side by side,
which is why I did it,
and we'll come on to that in a minute, I would skip this one.
Yep.
And maybe get this
I agree.
one.
But this is where the pricing
Stephen.
becomes a bit insane, because you said you paid 110 for the first one and 65 potentially for the second one, which is like, what am I supposed to do here? 65 quid for this next dram. I've been sampling that first one again. What am I supposed to do here? £65. I'm losing my mind. I cannot imagine buying this for £65. At £65, this is an oosh. This is a massive fucking oosh.
It is.
You can't buy this for £65. I feel like our roundup is almost null and void, largely, until we come on to the last one, because
This is a silly roundup.
you can't fucking buy them.
It's not silly, Stevie, but
insanity.
I hear what Jake is. I think he genuinely frustrated because these prices nowadays are just not realistic.
No.
And it makes it back to the conversation I think we touched on in the podcast about the price of Allardyces at £60, £70 a bottle only what, 5 years ago? Mm-hmm. You kick yourself for not buying them then, and it's easy to be wise in hindsight.
For sure.
But at £65, it's a bloody oosh for me.
Phenomenal.
Sorry, we're jumping one ahead, but Steve is
let's say this one at 110. Let's say if this one was the same price. Can we do that?
Yeah, that one I would always buy. This one tastes better to my mind
Over the first.
than the more modern one.
I agree.
It just does. Perhaps it's
So at
the cask.
£110, is it still an oosh?
It's
No, we're breaking
I don't know,
character here.
Jake.
I'll break all the character I fucking
my
want.
show.
hang on,
Do
guys.
what
It's
I
your
want.
podcast, okay? I don't know. I don't know.
No,
if it's
let's
an oosh.
stick because we are sticking to retail. Let's
So
stick to that.
60.
Go on, give it.
Come on, Jay. Call it.
Oosh!
Really? Really? It's an oosh.
£65. This second one is massive. This is incredible.
It's really good.
It's phenomenal.
You think about what are on the supermarket shelves now for
You can't,
for
but you can't,
50
Stevie.
quid,
You can't
60
compare
quid.
it to that game.
I know you can't, but no,
But apparently that's what we're fucking doing.
But that's what we're doing.
This is a crazy podcast. This doesn't make any sense to me. I love it, but I hate it. I don't know how I feel. Help me.
I'm so confused.
I'm just a young boy.
I'm just anyway.
What do you reckon?
so good.
65 quid. Where are we at here, guy?
I bought 5 of them because somebody shipped them down to me. So it's got to be an oosh for me because it's for a youngish Oloroso Glendronach. It's fantastic.
It really is.
It really is. If I had to pull some forward, I'd probably bring the 10 forward, and I'd probably bring. If we had to have a three off in the final, I'd probably bring those 2 forward so far. But then that one might creep in as well. However, I'm digressing from the podcast ethics here. But
And if you're giving it an oosh as your first oosh of the podcast, I need you to give it some. So.
okay, it's an oosh.
There it is.
It's
a
so
big
good.
fat oosh from Guy.
so good.
It really is fucking
It's
good.
so good.
Thank you so much for sharing it. Stevie, £65.
No, we've spoken about this. You've given some great points. It's a fucking oosh. 65 quid. It's
What are we doing? This is
madness.
insane.
But we are now in 2024. This is 2017 prices. I
understand.
would point
But
out
we
yet
are
again.
now following a theme of doing retail, so we're going to stick to that.
Okay.
It's what are the age differences between those two handfuls?
They're the same age.
They're-
So
they're-
vintage-wise.
They're minimal, Stevie.
But it's the percentage that's a little bit out, isn't it?
Yeah, the
3 or 4.
first one was 60 something. The second
Yeah.
one was 57, 58.
Yeah, so we know from the 2011 more recent bottling, so Billy's era, if you like, or the spirit was laid down in Billy's era, that this was bottled in 2023.
Okay.
So it's no older than 12 years old. Okay? So, and then we compare it to the 2017 bottling. This was distilled in 2005, cask 1441. So this is no older than 12 either, which is why I brought them both as a comparison. So potentially we've got one that's direct fired and one that's non-direct, different eras, but both the same age.
It's a great
both,
heads up.
It's trying to do a fair comparison. That was the
great
point of
heads
it.
up.
No, and it was good. And you can see from my glasses.
But can I just say, we've all given this second one an oosh. Even if they were the same price, the second one is an oosh.
Good point.
From
That-
the point
that's
of view
a fair-
of flavour.
Very good summation.
That's all I
Out of
would
the
say.
two, the
Very
second
good
one-
summation.
I know what you're trying to say on the price point. We
All
go
of
on
our
our
favourites.
on retail.
Yeah.
It's all of our favourites
Yeah.
here. It's got that bit
Out
more
of the
depth.
two, we'd all pick this one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Price
There's
is
something
irrelevant.
there. I think
Price
from the
irrelevant.
moment it was poured, They were both a little bit muted on the nose. They've really opened up now, and I'm thoroughly enjoying them again. But from the moment they were poured, the second one was more juicy on the forefront. And like I said, as it carried
More
through, there was a
fruits.
bit of a sooty element. There was more
Yeah.
fruits. There's a lot of depth and a lot of interesting stuff going on there. And I think that continued to grow.
Yeah, that's a good summation.
The second one is the winner and a 3-part oosh, the first triple oosh of this limited edition
It's got to
series.
be. It's got to be. Yes, it's got to be. Okay, Jay.
Moving
on
on
to
to
the
the
next one.
1992. What did you pay for this? I don't even want to know.
Do you know, I can't remember, but it would be, I don't know, maybe 100,
Tuppence. I traded it for a punnet of cranberries and some fucking...
I don't rightly know, but I'm guessing back in the day, I don't know. That wasn't expensive. This was back in 2017, 2018, the latest.
I mean,
Maybe
2017...
one
Batch
batch
is this, please?
This is
As a 16.
Glendronach
Don't say
1992,
batch 16.
Stevie, cask 1135,
Oh, God.
which was bottled back in July 2009. Jesus.
So it doesn't have a batch then.
Wait,
so-
bottled in 2009?
Yeah. This was one of
Of
the.
course, sorry, yeah, you were saying that.
This is one of the first ones.
That will have been
bottled.
cheap as fucking chips.
It
Because
would
I
have
remember I picked up my 21-year-old, is 3399, is 21, I think.
Yeah, it is.
I remember.
It is.
And that was, I think, £110.
Do you know what? That's a very, very good point. I distinctly remember back in 2016, 2017, Karen putting me some aside. I think they were 130 then, yeah.
Okay.
I bet this was about £100 at time of release.
I bet.
So is this
I'm
cask
most
103?
135.
Oh, okay.
103 is a more recent release. You struggle to find it, Stevie.
I don't think this
think
would have
so.
been any more than £100.
No way.
What do you want to say, Stevie? Do you want to call it £100
Because-
flat? Are you going to hunt down the retail price like an internet sleuth?
He's really good at this stuff, and I've watched him. He's good.
Mate,
Pull that
He's
up,
good.
Jamie.
He is. I was just about to say he is the Jamie of the podcast, which makes me Joe Rogan. I'll take it.
A lot of people unfollowing.
I would say,
That's
guys,
fine, mate. I can give a shit.
gents, I would say the Parker's cask, even though I didn't discover it when I discovered Glendronach, the Parker's cask 401, I think they were being sold at £65 to £70 a bottle in 2009,
Disgusting.
which was released at a similar sort of time because that was a 17-year-old.
I reckon that wouldn't have
It
been
was
more than
probably
60
about
or
60 or 70 pounds.
Yeah. That's obscene.
Jake, you're probably right.
That's obscene.
Well,
That's obscene.
it's unbelievable.
That makes me a little bit angry. That makes me a little bit
Only
angry.
because we didn't discover it a few years earlier.
Exactly.
Similar
that.
discussion to what Ian and I had
You'd have
years
bought
ago.
the whole fucking thing
You-
out.
exactly.
Jesus Christ.
So this would be sub £100 easily.
Okay, so let's go sub £100, Steve. Are you
Probably-
happy with that as a round up price?
Probably £20-30 less.
Is that what you paid for it?
I can't remember, Stevie.
Roughly sub 100.
Oh, it's got. I wouldn't have paid more than 70, 80
Because that's
pounds
what
for
we're
this.
going on. What you paid for it. So yes.
So sub £100. Let's just go less than 100. It doesn't matter. I know where this is
it's
going
easy for
with
me.
all three of us.
Do you want me
talking.
to
It
start?
doesn't
This is
matter.
a massive oosh.
Go on, give it
It's
some
a
guy.
huge oosh.
Oosh.
Look at it. It's a 1992 Glendronach for a ridiculous amount of money.
I love it. I love it.
Cheap.
Cheap. It is exactly that. It's cheap
It's
as
so
chips.
cheap at the
Talk about
price.
value for money.
Oh,
This is cheap at
it's
less
stunning.
than £100.
It's stunning.
Absolutely stunning. I love how you said, look at it. Just fucking look
But
at it.
it's a 92 Glendronach. It's like...
It's
I don't know why. It's mad,
great.
you know?
It's another one that I've nearly finished in my glass. I've kept all of them in the glass
We've
here.
got to go another flight again. No, we haven't, Steve. We're good.
Tomorrow?
Whenever.
Yeah, no, listen. For sub £100, it's a big oosh. It
mad.
really is.
It's so good, isn't
The
it?
depth here, the
Yes.
integration here. What I love about it, for me, is of course you've got the fruits and all of that, but the wood here really works for me. You know,
right.
But it's not over oaked, is it?
no, this is it.
Everything's
yeah.
in sync.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
exactly
Yeah.
that. Well
Spot on.
done. I can see why it's your favourite. Thank you so much for bringing it.
It's
Glendronach.
Glendronach,
Ladies and gentlemen,
class,
you know.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with both of you more. There's not much more to say. As I said already, 16 years old. This is singing well beyond its years. It's my favourite of the day. And if I could buy this at sub £100, oh, this is phenomenal. This is Glendronach through and through, as Stevie has said. I've seldom got any left, but I'm
we can always pour
this
another
glass to the death, and it's phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing, Guy. Amazing stuff, guys. If you get to try this cask, and can you just read out the cask number again?
It is 1135.
1135.
Released for Danish retailers.
This is a Danish retail exclusive, 16-year-old, 1992 Glendronach. Phenomenal whiskey, well above its years. And we move on to probably the only one of the lineup that we can actually judge fairly, because this is a recent release.
Yep, agreed.
And so what price are we paying for this one now?
So now I think I paid about 220 for this from the whiskey
now
shop.
we're getting into the realms of kind of
back in
realism.
Yeah, exactly, Stevie. I think this was just post-COVID, in the COVID era. So so I think this about 220, I believe.
Okay, so 1993, 26-year-old, £220. Guy, I'm handing over to you first. You've obviously bought one. Where are you at?
It's a big buy. It's a big buy, but it's not an oosh for me.
Strong buys.
It's a strong buy.
You buy it again?
I'd buy it again when you've just drank something that's 9 years younger, which is 10 years younger. That's on par with it.
For sure.
In fact, possibly better.
Yeah.
So it's a buy, but it's just not an oosh. It's got some of the lovely, fantastic characteristics. It's a brilliant example of a 93, although a more recent bottling of the 93s compared to some of the early ones that people wax lyrical about. But compared to that 92, it's just it doesn't quite cut it compared to the 92. So it's a buy, but it's not an oosh.
Fair enough. Strong buys from Guy. Stevie.
Price?
220.
About 220, I think. I'd have to check on that. But we're back up to more real, more modern day.
Which is where my tight arse comes in.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to pass.
Yeah, interesting.
That's not to say it wasn't a great whiskey, because there's a lot going on here. And you've got to respect it's 26 years old. And actually, it's a very good price for 26 years old, if that's what you paid. But it's still at that price point that is just like, for me anyway, you've got to start thinking about it. And what would I buy at that? What do I really want? I want that Blade Runner at that price. No.
Yeah.
I am going to pass on this one. I've spent a lot of money today.
Fair play.
Yeah.
It's delicious, but it's just so interesting that the 16, for me, I would pay the same price for that for the 26.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one.
If you did this in blind and you say, what would you pay for that and that? Would you pay 210 for this or that? I'd pick the 16.
You see, I'd like to done this blind, if in a different scenario, because the 92 jumps out at me, and I knew Ian had tried this, but now he's going to know what our thoughts are. I'd loved him to have tried this as well before, for the exact same reasons that Steve is summarising. It's
No,
I've got to be realistic. It's a great dram. Listen, they all have been, but at the same time, it's still a few hundred quid, couple hundred quid. It's a couple hundred quid. Fair enough. It's not often I do spend that on bottles unless I'm really into it, But I've got to respect it's 26-year-old Glendronach. And it's good.
Listen,
and it is good.
You've got to be honest, and I think, out of the three regular hosts, and certainly with a geek here like Guy, you're somebody that holds us down to earth. You're a little bit more realistic.
We're playing with Monopoly money right here all the time.
Correct. Well, sometimes I'm not. I just straight after an episode I'll get out and I'll spend a lot of fucking money. But no, you're absolutely right. We don't want to become overly frivolous. I would agree with what you said, Guy. I think, if you compare the two, and to echo your thoughts as well, Stevie, there is no comparison. And if I was to be told you can spend £220 on this or on that, which would you choose? It would be the 1992. However, I think what this 1993 is a beautiful example of what Glendronach does really well. if you pay for a 20, 25, 26, 30-year-old Glendronach, one of these single cask expressions, and you're paying 200 to 250 pounds, 220 in this case, you get your money's worth. It's good value for money, and it's a buy for me. It's great. I love it. You sometimes, however, manage to strike gold and hit those rare gems that for one reason or another just sing. And I think that that's what we had with the 92 today. And it goes to show that age isn't everything.
Which is why I think...
10 years younger. Yeah. It's been a wonderful way to line this up, Guy. And thank you so much again for sharing all of your whiskies. It was so generous of you. And everyone at home, please drop a comment in there and make sure you give a big thanks to Guy, because this has been on his buck today. And it's not a cheap lineup. And it's phenomenal to sample. But it's a great whiskey. I would give this a buy. I think that you are getting your value for money. Sometimes you get really lucky and you get more than you pay for, but that's the beauty of single cask whiskies.
That's well summarised, Jack. I think this slips a real curveball in, doesn't it?
It does.
If this wasn't in the lineup, it would have changed our perceptions on this.
You brainwashed us a little bit here.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I did
placebo,
it. Because, well, not placebo.
No, I'm half joking here, but when you have all of these in front of you, that does stand out.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah. So this jumps out at you. This is probably a noosh for all of us.
Oh, it did.
This is like, wow, if that wasn't available, this could be a noosh, but it's not. Because it's a bit of a mindfuck, really.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't bring that 16 today, say there was something in place, but wasn't subpar or whatever, that 26 would probably be a fucking.
Hence why I picked it for that exact reason. You know, and I bought this well before it appeared in Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible,
right?
Because I thought this was just a great. At the back end of all the 93s that were disappearing like mad and the prices were going up.
This was sexy.
Exactly, Stevie.
Yeah.
I was given a sample by the guy in the whiskey shop in Nottingham, the manager there, real nice guy. He went, just try this, guy. And I like going, try this. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really good. And he went, yeah, this is one we've just bottled. And that was like the end of that I've seen, the end of the 93s before the prices went.
Yeah.
Not exponentially, but they went up dramatically.
They did, no, absolutely.
So if I'd not brought this, if I'd not brought the 92, Stevie, this makes this sing, but this is like, wow. And it's 10 years younger. Which is why I picked it.
Good curveball. No, absolutely.
As Jake said earlier, and you've said, we've all said, age is not everything, right?
I know, but doesn't this illustrate it well?
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a bit of for me, it's a bit of an education, really, because it's like, wow. In a lineup, if it was blind tasted, I bet we'd have all picked the 92.
Definitely.
And then afterwards, they'd have gone, revealed 16, revealed 26, would have gone, get the fuck out.
It would have been quite a close call,
maybe,
for me, between the 92 and the second handful we had.
Yes.
Right. Blind, anyway.
Yeah, that's a good call, Stevie.
Yeah.
On flavour,
yeah.
you know.
Definitely.
It's weird, isn't it? The stuff that was released maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Up, you know, and it's a real.
Definitely.
Guy,
thank you so much. Yeah, what an absolute phenomenal lineup. And as we said already, guys, make sure if we get 100 likes and plenty of comments requesting Guy to come back, we'll get the man back, because my God, has this been a fantastic limited edition release of Glendronach.
And if you think there's a Glendronach out there that Guy hasn't tried, that he needs to, leave it below.
Absolutely.
I like that, Stevie.
Yeah.
For now,
I'm up for the challenge.
Say it again.
I'm up for the challenge. That's interesting.
Up for the challenge, and if he doesn't have it, he'll be hunting it down, no doubt.
Oh, indeed.
Be careful what you're commenting. Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Guy, thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Phenomenal to have you here. Wonderful to meet you finally. We've been chatting with you for a while, so it's great to meet you in person. We're going to enjoy the rest of the afternoon. But for everyone at home, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Uncut and Unfiltered, limited edition Glendronachs. We will see you next time. Slàinte mhath.
Slàinte.